Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the special Board of Education meeting. Today is June 8th, and it is 9:17 a.m. All meetings of the Board of Education are open to members of the public unless publicly noticed as a confidential closed session as allowed by the law in Ed Code Section 35147. Members of the public may address the board as outlined in the public comment section of the agenda. The audio of all meetings is recorded, and a member of the public may be held liable for any slanderous or otherwise defamatory statements. In consideration of the board and members of the audience, please turn off or silence your cell phones while in the board. The San Marino Unified School District encourages those with disabilities to participate fully in the public meeting process. If you need a disability-related modification or accommodation, including auxiliary aids or services, to participate in the public meeting, contact the assistant to the superintendent at J. De La Torre as SMUSD US or 626-299-7000 extension 1310 at least 48 hours before the scheduled board meeting so that we may take every reasonable effort to accommodate you. Documents provided to a majority of the Board of Education regarding an open session item on this agenda will be made available for public inspection in the district office located at 1665 West Drive, San Marino, during normal business hours. In addition, such writings and documents may be viewed on the district's website at www.smusd.us. We are moving on to open session, and at this time, the meeting is called to order. Roll call, please. Mr. Chang?
Here.
Mr. Sum?
Here.
Ms. Lamb?
Here.
Ms. Ryan?
Present.
Mrs. Gill here. And everyone is here. Now, let's please stand for the flag salute. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please. Let's approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb and Mrs. Ryan. Roll call, Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Sung?
Aye.
Ms. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill? Aye. Item 3, public comments. Communications from the audience concerning matters on the special Board of Education meeting agenda may be heard at this time, but responded to by the Board of Education. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comments. 1, submit through an online form. Do we have any public comments submitted through the online form?
We have no public comments submitted.
Okay, the public had the opportunity to submit public comments for the open session on June 5th, 2026 from 2 p.m. through 4 p.m. on Friday, June 5th, 2026. Comments received during this time will not be read during the meeting, but will be provided to by the Board of Education. No comments were submitted. 2, request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. Do we have any audience members on Zoom at this time?
No attendees on.
Okay, thank you. Number 3, request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. There are no members in attendance to submit a public comment card, so we can move on from that. Number 4, board strategic planning. I'd like to now turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Linda De La Torre, who will lead the board through the budget strategic section.
Thank you, President Gill, members of the Board of Education, executive team. I'm really pleased to be here this morning. We have a full agenda. Hopefully all of you received the board retreat agenda. And I'd just like to cover some items that we're going to be going over very quickly, tell you a little bit about how the day will go, and then we'll jump right into our agenda items. So this morning, we are going to begin with the discussion of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. I will be providing you with information that members of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council researched. They are issues of interest to the school district, and I would like to share their findings with you this morning. At about 9:30 8:30 to 9:40, we're going to be talking about leadership management and governance, really understanding the distinction of the governing board's role versus the superintendent's role versus the executive team's role. And we're going to be talking about how to become an even more effective team as we move forward doing the work that the Board of Education will be developing over the course of the next 2 days. In addition to that, we're going to dive into a very in-depth presentation of the current state of the school district. And this is designed to allow our executive team to provide you with important baseline information that each board member will use to think about and develop the 2026-27 Board of Education goals for next year. It's really important to know where we've been, where we are, in order for you to decide where we need to go in the future. So I think that you will find that very interesting and helpful. We're going to have a break at about 11:15, and then we will come back and we will dive into a discussion of the current trends in education. And this is really specific to the current trends in California. I want to talk with the Board of Education about what is impacting not only our particular school district, but school districts in California and Los Angeles, and especially in San Gabriel Valley. We will be going on a garden walk and have an informal discussion about 1 p.m. But wrapping up, we will have lunch at the tea house today. And then we'll go on our walk. 2 o'clock, we're going to talk about emerging priorities. We're going to be reflecting on our district's strengths, opportunities, and the future direction of the school district. And at 2:30, we're going to begin preparing for goal setting and future initiatives. And then that will take us into planning for the day tomorrow, which I'm really excited about, wherein you will be developing your 4 goals for 26-27. All right, so having said that, I would like Kwok to please pull up the CTE presentation that I shared with you. And before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about the purpose of having a superintendent student advisory council. The school board expressed their interest in ensuring that we're doing all that we can to elevate student voice. Thank you, sir. And as such, we developed a student council so that we can get information from our students about their experiences and how we might improve on those experiences. And so what we did was we met with approximately 30 students who signed up to be on our advisory committee, and we educated them on how the district works. We had presentations from each one of the executive cabinet members so that the students could better understand the strengths of the district, opportunities, challenges, and some of the barriers that we have to getting what they want or what they think they need as students, simply because we were going to engage them, and we did engage them in a research project. So the students were grouped in groups of 6, and we had 4 groups that were working on different research projects of interest to them. We had one group working on career technical education. We really were interested in finding out and learning more about how we can assist students in providing them with opportunities that will help ensure that they become global citizens upon graduation from San Marino High School. What areas of interest are there out there amongst the student population at San Marino High School? And this is something that we're going to take to the next level. And we are going to actually develop a survey that we will send to parents and students at the middle school who are going to be our up-and-comers. We also had a group of 6 working on grading reform. We did ask them to present their findings at the last SSAC meeting, which they did, which I found very fascinating. We had another group working on food services, and then the 4th group worked on facilities. So I don't have time to take you through each one of the presentations, but my commitment to you is to make sure that you have copies of all of the student presentations so that you can take a look at the data that they have put together, and I'm very impressed with the quality of the presentations that were delivered to the group. I invited President Gill to sit in on the student presentations as president of the Board of Education. It's really important for her to really understand the students' needs and wants and their experiences. So I hope that that was informative, and I'm just going to take you through this very quickly. So this was presented by Annie Q, Claire Huang, Jackie Gill, Alina Pogazian. Oops, sorry. Purpose. This is very sensitive, this one. The purpose of the survey was to determine the efficacy, student awareness, and feedback of the CTE career and technical education program at our school. So they were analyzing the existing program. So there's a copy of their survey. We asked students to include qualitative and quantitative data in their findings, and they structured their survey questions to elicit those responses. So their objectives were to highlight program successes, identify opportunities for instructional alignment, and inform future pathway expansion. So again, qualitative and quantitative data. And they took a look at the demographics of the study. So they were looking at who was responding to the study and how many ninth graders, how many 10th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders responded. And then they looked at whether or not they were male respondents, female respondents, or if they chose not to identify their gender. Thank you. First, it was very sensitive, and now it's not at all. Qualitative suggestions. So they looked at the top performing courses, and those were Intro to Business and Media Arts. The second top performing is Success of Summer Acceleration. And they said that they really value the accelerated summer options. And I think that's not news to the Board of Education. We've always known that our students really value, and I think our parents value, opportunities for our students to get ahead. And then balancing project quality and assignment amount. Yeah, thank you. Optimizing daily classroom productivity. So students appreciated the accessibility and the welcoming environment of CTE courses. They received feedback that some of the courses were boring. So we need to evaluate that. And by the way, this information has been shared with the high school administration, and Dr. Wolf was present when these presentations were being delivered as well. So all of this feedback has been given to them, and they're going to be evaluating that, talking about it during Leadership Learning Summit this year. Okay, so if you can go to the next slide, thank you. And here's their data analysis slide, and they are saying that, CTE courses are helpful, and most students rated them at an 8 out of a 10-point scale. And so the research team concluded that CTE courses are important to students, and they are valuable, and they are promoting the school, or they're promoting the school to continue offering these types of courses. Slide. So out of 74 students, 18 reported that they would like a CTE course that involves culinary arts. And so culinary arts scored very, very high in terms of CTE offerings for the future. Other ideas that they had: fashion design. I know we used to have fashion design. Engineering is something that we have looked at in terms of looking at the Department of Labor statistics. Engineering is a field for the future that is apparently going to be very much in demand. And we know currently that a lot of the engineers are being imported from other countries. So we don't have enough engineers coming from US education systems in order to fill the need. Healthcare, very, very, very in demand future career. That's why we started the medical arts. If you look at the Department of Labor statistics, there's lots of information to indicate that we have an aging population. And the aging population obviously needs to have healthcare support and services in order to manage that. So healthcare is a huge field for the future. Rich shop, home, that ec? Oh, home ec, sorry, home ec. There's a little space there. Home ec, we used to all have home ec. Many of us grew up taking home ec. And that's when we had lots of stay-at-home moms, back then in the, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And then now most, households do not have that. However, it is important to have those life skills. And I think that it is making a comeback because so many students are leaving high schools, not really understanding how to manage their finances or their households. And those are really important skills to have in order to be successful in life moving forward. Photography, software, driver's ed, architecture, cybersecurity, auto mechanic, and tax financing classes. And the last one is something I want the board to really think about. We are looking at a potential financial literacy pathway that starts in transitional kindergarten and goes all the way through 12th grade. And Dr. Richter and I have had some conversations with some financial institutions, and we're going to continue to have those conversations on how we can support that type of learning. And there would be vertical alignment between each of the schools. We know that all of our students are very interested, and their parents as well, in being financially literate by the time they graduate from San Marino High School. This is really one of the most important things for us in order to prepare our students for future success, whether it's in college or in their career.
74 students, they are senior or junior of the.
So there's a slide. Let me take you back to that. And I don't know, can we enlarge that? There we go. Okay, so 47.3% of the respondents were in ninth grade. 21.6% of the respondents were in 10th grade. 14.9% were in 11th, and 16.2% were in 12th. So the majority of the respondents are freshmen. So they're going to be here.
So how if we pick up them, is that they are volunteer or they?
Just they volunteered to respond to the survey. The group sent it out to all students, and these are just this is the composition of the students who volunteered to respond to it.
I'm just sorry. So this is sent to the entire school.
No.
Everybody.
No, it
Okay.
wasn't. And that's part of the thing where I think if we want to explore deeper, Dr. Wolf said none of the groups asked. He said he would have sent it out to everyone, but since it wasn't really a class, like they kind of were left to decide on their own. They could have asked him or whatever. They distributed it through like Snapchat, like their different,
Their socials.
their social, their own contacts. So the groups that reply are not the same, all of them. So I do think it's
It could be
accurate
bias.
that
There could be bias in the survey, and we did, we talked about that since it was sent to their peer groups and not the general population.
Right.
But the survey that the district will do is going to be sent to the general population and parents. So we will disaggregate all of that information when we share it with the Board of Education. Because obviously the parents will see through one lens, students will see through that.
and a great effort by all these groups. I mean, they were all so impressive and so well prepared. They were, and really gave a lot of food for thought. And I mean, we talk about, in theory, our students, we want to be more student centered. We want to hear student voice. And I feel like Dr. DeLaTrey has done a great job with her council in really getting the true student voice in an environment where they don't feel afraid to really speak the truth. And I think doing it through these surveys too, like saying CTEs are boring. No kid is going to want to say that in front of the teacher, but when it's the results that are anonymous and they can bring that information to administration, which is really valuable. Thanks.
Thank you. And so the other areas, again, we looked at food services, and one of the things that became very evident to me as superintendent and to my executive team was that, having the education from the specific area really helps students to better understand what our barriers are again, because students reported in their survey that they wanted access to vending machines. They wanted more access to a variety of energy drinks. And I don't think that these students, because this was the one time that our director of food services was not available to speak on the day we had scheduled her. So they missed out on having that presentation from our food services director. So again, this is them reporting out on what they want, but they don't understand that we're so regulated in the area of food services and nutrition that some of those things are just simply not permissible by regulation or law. And because we receive 100% funding for our food services department, we really don't have any leniency on that. The kids, I feel can be more engaged in menu planning and things like that with the director of food services. So again, all of these topics are going to be discussed thoroughly with the leadership team over the latter part of this week to allow them to get the feedback and better understand the student satisfaction with certain aspects of these areas. There was a facilities presentation. I'm not going to walk you through all of these presentations, but again, I want to reiterate that I'm going to be giving you copies of them. The facilities presentation helps us to inform how the students see the high school campus. There were lots and lots of comments about the near auditorium. I think we have a lot of, theater kids who would like to see some renovations in the theater. And the Board of Education has directed us to do some maintenance and just re-energizing that space. So we're going to be painting, we're going to be replacing the carpet. The steps are going to be redone, and it's going to be a much safer, cleaner, crisper environment for our students over the course of the next year. So that's a work in progress. And then grading reform, which our high school principal, Dr. Ben Wolf, is very passionate about. We were able to hear from a group of students who studied that area, and I'll provide you with a copy of that presentation. But grading reform is really important. It's important for lots of reasons. We want kids to be able to demonstrate their subject matter competency, their mastery of the subjects. And more districts, especially high-performing districts in the nation, are moving toward grading reforms and looking at the importance of mastery versus the actual grade. And that's a topic that I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about in the next year. So with that, I am going to then transition to the next topic, which is leadership, management, and governance. And I have another presentation for you that I sent.
So, this one.
Yes, thank you. Perfect. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so it's important for us, in order to be a very effective team, to clarify the roles of the board and the superintendent. And some of you may have read the book, The Governance Core. I'm not sure whether you did or not, but that is such a powerful book on really the relationship between the Board of Education, the superintendent, and the executive team, and being a well-oiled machine. Understanding our roles is one of the most important things in order for us to be as effective as we can be. So we need to clarify the roles. We need to reinforce unity of purpose. It's really important for all of us to be aligned in what our mission and vision is for San Marino schools. That way we are all marching to the beat of the same drum. And I can't tell you how important that is. If you have a misalignment amongst your Board of Education, it's really important that we talk that through. It's perfectly fine to have different opinions about things, but it is really important that the Board of Education agree on what's important in terms of the work that we are doing. And putting kids first, I think we can all agree that that is our main objective. Really having our students at the center of our planning, our communications, our thought process and how we manage and lead our schools. And then it is really important to establish communication norms. The Board of Education has already done a considerable amount of work on that. And we have communication norms that we can reshare with the board. And we plan to do this every year just as a refresher in order for everybody to be reminded on how we communicate and understanding Brown Act expectations. So when we have a newer board, we typically bring an attorney to provide in-service on the Brown Act. This is not a new board. This is an experienced board now. And so I don't really feel like that's important. I think you all know the Brown Act is something that governs how we communicate as a Board of Education and as a public school district, particularly when we are in closed session and in open session deliberations and conversations. Oh, sorry. There we go. Effective governance absolutely drives student success. High-performing districts, they have effective boards of education. We are high-performing, and we know that our Board of Education is exceedingly effective in what they do. We need to have strong superintendent-board relationships, and I believe that we do have a collaborative relationship based on trust and respect, which is exceedingly important. And then, as I mentioned earlier, student-centered decision-making is super critical. So as long as we continue to keep students in mind in terms of every single decision that we make, ensuring that we are making decisions that support student success, there's very little room for criticism. And unity of purpose. So student achievement and wellness, fiscal stewardship, educational excellence, community trust. These are all themes that the Board of Education has really centered their goals around, and themes that the district has been acquainted with since this board has been developing goals. So I think it's really, really critical that that we continue to think about and support student wellness in this current culture. I think fiscal stewardship is super important in that you cannot run a school district if you do not have the resources available to support the education. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later when we talk about trends, but we need to understand the importance of managing our resources conservatively, balancing that with taking some risks that support kids' learning and growth. We're a very unique district. We are, again, one of the lowest funded unified school districts in the entire state of California. So in order for us to continue to be high performing, we have to have community trust. We have to have a strong relationship with our stakeholders and people in the community who are going to continue to partner with us and support our mission and vision. Without that, we would have to make some very creative decisions on consolidating our schools and doing a lot of things that we know our neighboring school districts are doing that we don't want to do, because I don't think that we would continue to be as high performing as we are today. And that's what our community expects. They expect us to invest in excellence, educational excellence. So the role of the Board of Education is to establish the vision and the direction for staff, the superintendent and staff, establish policy. And I want to stop there and just say that we have a lot of work to do on policy, that we do not have a complete set of board policies uploaded to our website. What we have is a collection of policies that have been updated probably within the last 5 to 7 years, but not a complete set. So we really do need to start working on that in 26, 27. And I do have some ideas about that I will be discussing with the board president to see how we can fast track that and get those policies up and available, not only for our community if they would like to see them, but for our students and for our staff and for our parents. I think it's really, really important because that guides how we manage the district. Now, I want to be clear about this. We have policies. And so even if we don't have a particular policy uploaded to the website, it doesn't mean we don't have that policy. It just means that policy is in hard copy form in the superintendent's office, and it's been in effect for probably 20 years. And it's just the same policy. So because it wasn't updated recently, it's not uploaded, but know that we do have policies in every area of governance. It's just some of them are newer and some of them are very old.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
I totally agree with this, and taking that a step further, I would really like to make it a priority to update the Titan guide, the Fox guide, the Viking, the Pioneer. I think that all of those need to be brought up to date and really align with what this board is, prioritizing. I think there's some dated info in there, and I think there's even some stuff that doesn't apply anymore. So I think I'd really, in my opinion, in open session here, would like to say I would love to see that as a priority. That's managing risk students. May have to follow it. That's may not align.
Right. I think that's really important feedback for us to have and to carry into.
I just wanted to say, I saw your sign, I'm like, it's Lena and this. I never retreat too, I saw San Marino. That's all.
Nice to see you.
Likewise.
Okay, sorry about that. It's any member of the public has the right to join our meeting. So there you go. Okay. Another educational professional from Temple City, and now she's working for a charter. Correct. Okay, there we go. Thank you for that feedback. We're going to take that feedback and discuss it at our leadership summit, so that we're clear that it's going to be important for our principals to work on. So thank you. The Board of Education also has a responsibility to adopt goals, which is what we're doing during these 2 days, and approve budgets. And so one thing that is very important, and I can't emphasize this enough, is for our Board of Education members to become very fluent and very expert in our budget. And the reason for this is because we are unique compared to all the other school districts. And people have a lot of questions about our budget. People don't understand public education budgets. They're very complicated. They're very convoluted compared to private industry. And so I had a parent come in and ask for our profit and loss statement. And I had to explain that we're not for profit. And so we don't have a profit and loss statement. And she was completely shocked and at first appalled. So we have to explain, we have to educate, we have to inform our public about how our budget works and how we receive funding and why we're in the unique position that we're in. So I think it's really important for me as superintendent to make sure that I'm doing a good job of talking about that with all of you collectively and individually, and that Dr. Choi, as Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, is making sure that he is presenting the information to the Board of Education in a clear and concise manner, and that we have board budget study sessions so that everybody has an opportunity to really digest all of the complex information that makes up our current budget system. And, this thing changes throughout the year several times, and it's a living, breathing animal, the budget. So it's constantly changing. The numbers are changing, and we need to understand that as well. So that is a real important role and responsibility of the Board of Education. And then monitoring the performance and evaluating the superintendent. You did a great job. You have done a job for several years of evaluating me, providing me with meaningful feedback, letting me know where I can be stronger and more effective in my role as superintendent is exceedingly helpful in that it really allows me to do self-reflection and to recalibrate and make adjustments where I need to make adjustments, to go forward and make sure that I'm leading the work of the Board of Education. These roles are not easy. Being a board member is not easy. It is, it's a very political position. In some cases, it can be a very thankless role, but you are in one of the most noble positions that exist in our society. You are doing the work of furthering and advancing children's education. That is really important. You have a role in helping kids be successful in their futures, and think about the importance and significance of that role. I really take it very seriously. I know my team is very passionate about the work that they do. Every time we go out to a school site, every time we see a performance, whether it's a speech and debate performance at San Marino High School or an elementary patriotic, musical, it is just so powerful, and it really reinforces, it helps us to reinforce the work that we're doing when we can see kids up there on the stage smiling or passionate about a speech that they're delivering. And I think the Board of Education has really done a wonderful thing in allowing students to come to the board meetings, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, be showcased when they have exceptional things that they do that we need to highlight and celebrate. And it's really a great opportunity to also see how well versed our young students are and how articulate. And I'm so happy that we're bringing speech and debate to 4th and 5th grade students who are willing to participate in the elementaries. I think that's going to be a game changer for us to have vertical articulation in the speech and debate program from the elementary to middle school to the high school. So we're going to see the effects of that, I'm sure, over the next several years. So the role of the superintendent is to implement policy and lead operations. So the board develops the policy and the superintendent enacts the policy. So it is my job to make sure that everyone in the district is following policy after the Board of Education develops it. It is my job to make sure that all staff are supervised properly and that they are all aligned with the Board of Education's goals and objectives, and we're all marching to the beat of the same drum. And then developing budgets and informing board decisions. It is my job to make sure that I am working really closely with Dr. Choi as the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services on the budget development and to inform the Board of Education on a regular basis about those decisions. So the role of the assistant superintendents leading the district functions and implementing board goals. They are boots on the ground, making sure that the operations are running smoothly, providing expertise and recommendations. Every single member of my executive team is expert in their areas. If they don't have the answer, they know where to get the right answer and how to communicate that. And then ensuring that we have organizational alignment, making sure that all of our departments are well versed in our policies and trained, and that we are constantly communicating with them and constantly providing them with support. I know that our principals rely very heavily on the executive team to give them advice, guidance, and direction. And when they're having difficulties with or challenges with legal issues, they work closely with the executive team to resolve those issues as expeditiously and responsibly as possible. So governance versus management, I like this. And this is something that CSBA, California School Boards Association, uses. So the Board of Education is the what, the vision, the policy, the accountability and governance, and the superintendent and her staff are the how, the implementation, procedures, operations, and management. So we could just draw a line down the center of that slide. And the board, if the board stays on the left and we stay on the right, then we are going to be a highly effective team. It's really important for us not to cross over. And it's tempting for us to cross over. So we just have to make sure that staff is doing the work and the board is very global. The board is looking at the big, thank you, the big picture. That's a line you don't want to cross right there. Thank you, Bob. And this is, straight from CSBA. So I'm not making this up. This is just what and how it's supposed to work. So we're the what, you're the what are we going to do? And we're the how are we going to do it? So we decide how we do it. And as long as we get the results, then we're okay. And not doing anything illegal, we're okay. All right. Thank you. So every board member matters. Every board member matters. 20% of the board is what you each are, 20%. But your voice matters. So you're all equal. And President Gill mentioned this in her speech at San Marino High School, and I thought it was very poignant and very, very much worth repeating. There's no one board member that is more powerful than another. The board president is the person who gets to develop the agenda. And that's in your policy, right? So the board president is like the lead communicator and the person who facilitates all of the board meetings and works with the superintendent to develop the agenda. But her vote isn't any heavier or worth, a higher percentage than anybody else. So when you're president, you're still 20% of the vote, right? You're still, a member of the board, but you have additional duties and responsibilities when you're in that board president role. You're also the voice more often than not for the Board of Education. You can be called upon to be the crisis communicator, not that I'm gonna, put that on you, but if for some reason I was unavailable and our PIO went down with the ship, sorry, not that that's ever gonna happen, but that's there's no ship, she's don't worry, no ship. But then the board president, right, might be the one that the media goes to. So you just never know how something like that is gonna happen. We heard that the Philippines had a 7 point something magnitude earthquake, which is devastating. And so, that has to be very devastating for the Philippines right now. And they're dealing with that. So you never know. And I just want to prepare you for that. So we need crisis communications training, not only for staff, but for whomever is the board president as well, probably the entire board, because each of you will be in this role at some point. So it's really important. So you're 20% of the discussion, 20% of the responsibility, 20% of the vote, and no individual acts alone. You really come together as a board of education to make strategic decisions that affect the entire district. So while you might each individually have passion projects and things that you're passionate about, which help advance the work of students and our goals and objectives, you have to bring that to the table and talk about those things with the entire Board of Education. And so your influence matters, your contributions matter, but the board as a whole is a unit, which is why it's so important that you have unity of purpose, right? That you decide what you want to work on together, because that's how you move things along. Yes, Mr. Chang.
So it look like after get elected, so each one is about 20%.
Mhm.
But can you explain what is the 20% of the responsibility?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 20% of your responsibility is really board members' responsibility is to show up, to be present, to be visible, to speak on behalf of the entire board, right? Not as an individual. And when you do speak as an individual, you have to declare, I'm speaking as an individual, not as a member of the Board of Education. Because when you speak on behalf of the entire board, you have to make sure that your other board members are going to support what you're saying. And so each board member needs to understand the budget. Each board member needs to, and we have this in policy, right? Go through the Masters in Governance program. And each one of our board members is a graduate of the CSBA Masters in Governance program. It's important that you not only go to your child's school if you have children in the district, but you go to every school, that you represent all kids, not just your own kids, right? And you have every right, for those that are parents on the Board of Education, you have every right to be a parent, right? So that's the parent hat. You don't take your parent hat off when you're raising your children, but when you're speaking on behalf of the board, you do. So if that makes sense, right? So you have a right to advocate for your children in our schools as a parent, but you have to separate your role as a parent from your role as a board member. Because when you're acting as a board member, you're acting on behalf of every single child in our student, not just your own, right? So you just need to make sure that you're clear in your communication, especially with staff. If you go out to a school and you're talking to staff, just say, hey, I'm here as a parent today, and we're going to talk about my child. Or you're going to say, I'm going pushing into every classroom to observe instruction, and I'm here as a board member today. So, and I do a lot of that communication on their behalf anyway. When I'm talking to principals and teachers, there are a lot of people who are intimidated by elected officials. That's just not anything that you guys are doing. It's just that they see you as board members. So when you come on campus, there's a little bit of, oh my gosh, we have to, straighten our tie and stand up straight and clean up our classrooms and clear off our desks because the board's. And so you just have to be sensitive to that in order to be as effective as you. And you're never going to change that. That's just the way it is universally. Because I hear that from my counterparts in every other school district. So just being sensitive to that and understanding that your role is going to shift depending on where you are and what you're doing and the conversation. Does that help, Mr. Chang, or were you looking for something different?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So expectations for participation. Every member has to contribute. This goes to what Mr. Chang's question was. And every member is heard. Every member is respected. And respectful disagreement is actually encouraged and expected. So if you have differences of opinion, that's okay. That's fine. That's great. That's how good, well-reasoned decisions get made through dialogue and debate. Strong boards avoid dominance and silence. Those are the two things that you don't want to have. Is one board member dominating the rest or not engaging, just being quiet and checking out. Don't want to do either of those two, which are polar opposites. And effective boards are really described not just by who sits at the table, but how each member shows up, how each member contributes. Every board member plays a really critical role. Every board member, you are such a dynamic team, and a board that participates fully, where all voices are heard and respected, is very well equipped to provide support and services to the students. And strong boards are going to go back to the center of their purpose, which is unity of purpose, right? So hopefully over the course of today and tomorrow, we're going to center in on what is our unity of purpose. What is it that we can all agree on? What is it that we're all working toward?
I like to make a comment.
Sure.
I don't think the current board, anyone like to dominate, but I mean the sometimes the people may feel the way, but I mean as the board member, I think the student, every student is a priority, right? Not their own kid. And secondly, as the board member, we need to minimize the risk. Make sure this school district smoothly for the operation every day. As you see the neighborhood, the school district, they have a lot of problem now because when they do things, someone they think they are doing right, they just speak out. But I mean the most important, I think sometimes I think the board dominate to some have a new policy or the trying to help the operation because they already seen or they are already learning from the other school district or they are learning from their job experience. So they know if we are doing this, maybe we may get the risk. So that's really some of the board may speak out. But I don't mean the all trying to dominate. So I mean this is very important. I think the board is a volunteer and doesn't get any benefit. I want to share with each of you, this San Marino school district is very different from the other school district and other city council, in the other city, they just take the title and they show up. But for transition from the 50 years old to now, we still keep a very low profile. I think it's a good practice for our board. But I can see, because the time is changing. Some maybe trying to take the title, for more. but I don't think the community people like to see that. Yeah. So this is just my comment. For several years, I observed that.
Thank you. That's very helpful input, and I appreciate your perspective. Having served for so many years on our Board of Education, your history and your experience is very valuable. Board visibility really matters. Being visible in the community at school events and performances, athletic events, and recognition ceremonies, community celebrations, and parent engagement. It's really important for people to see you doing the work of an elected official, of a board member. It just builds trust and credibility in your role and helps people to understand your commitment and your willingness to serve.
But it doesn't mean the board at the San Marino Unified School District have to be very the self control and low profile. But I think the third for the board still have some reward, but this reward is not the financial reward, but it's not the you take this and then you get promotion and negotiate with the other organization, you get the job. But I just give you an example. Yesterday, I was so happy. So when I attend one the community the reception, when I get out on the street, so there's two young men. They call me, and immediately I don't know who are they. But then they explained to me they was the Huntington Middle School alumni. Yeah. So they say, Mr. Chen, you are a board member. Yeah. So I say, how did you know? Yeah, because so this brother. So they say that yeah, we know that your board is helping the school district. And then I said, where you study now? So they said, I just finish the UPenn. And then the younger brother said, I'm going to Princeton. So I feel that's the only the reward for the school board, the student they recognize. And also, I think we are a team, to make this work. Yeah. So students they can have the bright future. So I think that this is very different from the other school district or other city council. Yeah. Because when serving this title, they get some benefit. Yeah. So that's my sharing with each of you.
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
And then the Thai they are chatting with me and other the guests also. Wow. And then they say, how come those kids know you?
Yeah. So recognition, right?
Yeah.
The kids are watching us. They see us. They know who we are, even if we don't know them by name. And that's something that my executive team and I talk about all the time, because when you are a public official or an elected official, you're recognizable. People see you from a distance when you're shopping at the hospital or you're out in the community and they see you and they know who you are, but you may not recognize them. So it is really important that you're always aware of that, and you're aware that there's always eyes on you. Even during your downtime, even when you are, in your sweat pants and your t-shirt and, your hair pulled back and no makeup on, right? You go to the grocery store and then there's going to be some, young person.
Yeah, especially in the Trader Joe.
Yes. Okay. There you go. Right. And that's kind of how it is. But they recognize the work and the contributions that you're making every day. And they do appreciate that. And I know their parents appreciate it as well. And it is a lot of work, and it is a lot of a lot of late nights and early mornings and commitment. And so to wrap this slide up,
Linda,
yeah,
I have you go back a few slides.
here, no, here,
Okay, yeah. So, I wanted to add on to what you were saying about this governance versus management. On the board, there are some of us who are kind of more intermediate board members, like you've been here a year, maybe 2, 3 years. And there are some that have been here 25 years, right? So you do have a graduated level of board members in terms of governance. And what Linda is actually saying in this slide is not just stay in your own lane in terms of what we're doing, the what versus the how, the vision versus the implementation, the policy versus procedures, accountability versus the operation and management. Those are really key things because I think that we need clarity on that because while we need to balance, right? This is a balancing what we do because while I'll just use Jason as an example, that's I'm not picking on Spence said, but Jason, you are more in charge of the procedures, how HR manages the personnel and all of that. And then on the board side, maybe we hear something, right? And so we report it to you. And we may ask you, hey, so what's going on there? That's not really crossing the line, but it's being informed about what's actually happening. So recently we've had a couple of issues come up which require some special attention from our superintendent. She's pulled away to look at how we're responding. Maybe she's working with our legal team. So in that process, it's really important that we are still informed about what is going on, because how can you make an informed decision when you don't know what's going on? Oh, I didn't know. It's not really acceptable in terms of only staying in one lane and knowing all of the things that are going on. Intricately, the district has so many moving plates, balls we're all juggling. And so with those analogies, I think you can understand that it's beyond being visible. It's beyond I showed up to graduation. It's beyond that. It's understanding protocols and procedures, how things operate, the chain of command, the like if we only stay at the one level, oh Linda, this is what happened, right? Then we never get to another level of understanding of how the board member balances all of their roles beyond being just parent and board member. There are roles where you're a community member, you are an advocate for children, you are a mandated reporter, you are doing training, we are at retreats, we are working in unison. So when we're talking about growing in the same direction, I just always feel that, you know, when things are getting, you know, crazy busy and some things are happening, all hands on deck. We need to be informed, we need to be present. And I'm not saying, oh, because, you know, I pulled up something on my cell phone, I'm not present. I still have to know everything. And then, so it's Linda's job to keep us informed, but it's our job to also do our homework. I remember before I became a board member, how another board member told me, you know, so when we were, you know, putting out we were deciding the football stadium and what we were doing, she said, I researched the turf and how rain affects it and runners, and if they fall, how do they bounce off of the track and things like that. And so it's knowing that when you're making that informed decision, I'm not saying we have to be contractors or understand it. What I'm saying is to be kind of present and know, you know, the questions to ask, what we're doing and how we're actually representing the community, right? To just say, oh yeah, no, I voted, it's all unanimous votes or whatever. So I just want to put that in there in terms of there's a balance between staying in your own lane, showing up, but being present and being knowledgeable and being an asset to the board, an asset. So I'm not saying that we are perfect. I myself are 12 years into being a board member, and I'm learning every day. But, I just want to say to our other board members, whether it's Mr. Chang or whatever, that we all do our best. But you have to admit to yourself, you have to ask yourself the question, have I done everything in my capability? Am I doing my best? Because, it's harder to step back and you always have to be front and center, right? Like if you, I don't know if Mr. Chang was alluding to this about taking responsibility. It's not that one person wants to talk more or less. It's, bringing everyone along and making sure that all voices are heard too. So, thank you.
And one thing that I want to say that you pointed out is that it is really important for board members to be knowledgeable, right? To understand how the organization operates best. And my husband used to always say, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And so you have to be able to understand the budget in order to be able to make good decisions, right? On where the money goes or how what's coming, where it's coming from or where, we need to make changes. So it's really important for you to be as knowledgeable, but that knowledge doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time, and it's over a long period of time. It takes, and I'm sure you've heard this and those experienced board members, it takes like 2 years, right, to really understand the budget. And that's if you're working actively on that. And so when you are a board member and you're hearing about the budget 4 times a year, based on the cycle that we follow, that's probably not enough for you to really understand how it works. And so just being engaged, asking questions, which you all do, and you all do really well, and taking initiative to be as informed as you can be and maybe more effective as a board member in terms of evaluating. And you're all doing this. And so, just keeping that momentum going forward. And again, it's my job to make sure that I am sharing that knowledge with you and keeping you as informed as possible. You probably all get tired of my many emails to you, which are all one way, right? I send you the message and I never hear back. And so I'm just assuming you're all reading it, but that's good Brown Act practice, right? But and so I have to inform you of certain things, and you should be informed, right? So it's not just you're staying out of everything. You don't stay out of everything. You have to know what's happening in the district, right? Because you have to know how things are being resolved, which is part of the communication process. So thank you.
I agree what you say. Eventually, each board member has to be knowledgeable, but that need to invest your own time. It's very important. When right now people introduce to me for 25 years, either it's good or not good, because of what look like only sitting there too long. But the 25 years, how much I learned, my first 4 years, I also, it's struggling.
Yeah.
Even I'm from the other the industry. I was the hospital CEO president, right? But when I come to the serve as the school board, it's just that like very new. So when I say something, may not fit into when I react in the healthcare, right? Do it. Then I also need to adjust my gesture, right? So for 25 years, then end up, we depend, we are this more, not talk too loud and not talk too much. Because in this 21st century, in the United States, it's a changing. It's a changing. From the last generation, when my first turn is a serve for the last my the fourth generation, but right now 25 years serve for the next two generation. So the each generation they are different. So we need to recognize the fact. So we need to get into the mentality. So I mean end up you just need to you want to be the school board, you need to invest your time. So I talking about the 20%. If everyone want contribute 20%, the one that each individual goal not to go over to 30% or 40%. So I think that this concept is very important. But the we need to realize the board is not a boss. Board is the trustee, helping for the this school district. So make sure the full time administrator they can smoothly to perform the operation and benefit to the all kids. So this is very important. Yeah. So each school district have a different the issue. So I've been praying for the Pasadena Unified. I'm sorry, actually. but it's true because my service area for our not-for-profit organization also helping for the Southern California. In my first term, I think that each school district like a competition. The time we were saying, oh, the San Marino is number one. But right now, after 25 years, I feel all the school districts we need to like a partnership because we are a group people, group the school district. We are not really get help from the supplemental from the funding, especially for the smaller school district, right? So each one they need to work together. That's reasons I appraise you, go with them. So then we know what they other. So then we can fix quickly. So I think that right now school district is a compete with the time each day. I want to talk to each administrator. Yeah, we are compete with the time, especially after AI. Yeah, we compete the time. You see this time in a compute text, see how the experts to hear. So I should not mention, but the PC is going with the AI. So now the change. So we don't have a waiting time. Yeah, So CPE, yeah, I'm glad we bring up. Yeah. So how many CPE we will implement for the student? Yeah. So that's really I'm just sharing.
Yeah. I just want to make a point of clarity, Mr. Chang, is that I think in Linda's graph, we have 20% of the vote to build a 100% vote, right? Whether it's 80% or she has a 4-to-1 vote, which is then 80%, right? But it's really, she's asking for 100% of our ability in terms of service, right? And representation. I don't think she means just show up 20%.
Right.
I think you're talking about the vote versus the actual governance part, understanding all of that. So let's move on. I'm sorry I took this on a detour.
It's really important. All of these things are important for us to go here. Okay, so highly effective governance teams focus on students first, right? We build trust intentionally. So we need to be intentional about connecting with people, informing and educating and building that trust. Communicating openly and respect opinions that are not like our own. We need to seek to understand. people who are different from us, people who have differing opinions. Instead of just summarily casting aside someone like that, we really need to try and figure out where they're coming from and why they have the thoughts and feelings that they do about our school district. And I intentionally try to work hard on listening to people who have complaints or concerns or opposing views. I want to be able to understand where it's coming from. I want to at least hear what they have to say, because they may know something I don't. They may be seeing through a lens that I need to look through occasionally. And so it's really important for us to be open to opposition and open to differences. And it isn't, equally important for those people to listen to us and to become as informed as they can be on how public education works and what we can and cannot do. Avoid surprises and support collective decisions. So the board has told me time and time again, they don't want surprises. They don't want to find out about something on the weekend that I should have told them, the Thursday before. And so I do my absolute best to try and be as proactive on communicating things as I can be. I don't always get the information. Sometimes, sadly, I'm the last to know, but more often than not, I am getting that information and passing it on to the board so that you're armed with that information when you go out to the community. I go home on the weekends, and you guys are here. And so when you go to Trader Joe's, Mr. Chang, and you're in line and somebody says, hey, did you hear what happened at the high school? And you look surprised and you didn't know, that's something you should have known, right? You should be able to speak intelligently to that. And if Trader Joe's or CVS or anywhere that you are in town. As far as collective decisions go, when the Board of Education, yes.
I think avoiding surprises goes both ways, though.
Yeah.
I think as board members, we have a responsibility to not ambush cabinet and superintendent during a board meeting. I think there's always going to be time, even if it's right before, to give a heads up. I think there are some tough questions that should be asked in open. I think that we owe, a duty to the community and the people that elected us to represent the community about the policy and the vision and the governance of the schools. But I do think it's the respectful and professional thing to do to say that that's coming.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. That is true. And we do appreciate that because we want to be as prepared to respond to your questions as we can be. And sometimes that takes research. Sometimes we have to actually make a phone call to the county, or we have to, pull up an ed code provision and then figure out how it's being interpreted, or maybe we need to look at case law or something like that. And so we would much rather be prepared with an informative answer or response than to say, oh, I'll have to look into that and get back to you. Because then that kind of falls flat and you don't really have your question answered during the meeting. And we want to answer as many questions during the meeting as we possibly can. So that's a great point. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Collective decisions, when you're in, as an example, closed session and you're making a tough decision, and maybe, you have opposing perspectives on this, but there's a vote. Let's say that the vote is, 4-1 and it passes, right? And so whoever the one person is, they are entitled to their opinion, but it is really important that you support the vote and you support the process of democracy on which the system is built, and that when a vote goes forward, that you do get on board and you support that vote. That is how our democracy works, and that is how we should behave. So we don't want, the argument to continue on and on and on and on, because that takes away from and detracts from whatever we're trying to move forward on behalf of folks. So I just want to make that clear, and that's a universal understanding amongst any board or any team, that once the decision is made and the vote has been cast, that we all move forward collectively. The governance team relationship, absolutely built on trust, right? We have to trust one another and respect. And respect is what strengthens the team and moves us forward. We have to be transparent in order to build confidence. It is really important that we all are very open and honest with one another and that we share information. I think that's how we will advance as a team and mature as a team. And then healthy relationships produce better outcomes. And that is just profoundly true, right? When you have a healthy relationship, you're focused on the issue at hand, not focused on relationship issues. If you don't have a healthy relationship, then it's very distracting and it can become toxic. It takes away from us advancing our goals. And so we want to avoid that. So if there's ever a disagreement or a misunderstanding, communication is the key to resolving that. Having conversations, private conversations, if I have a misunderstanding or miscommunication, I hope that I will do the right thing and reach out to the person and have a private conversation and try to resolve it as quickly as possible in order to move forward. Because it is really important that we have a healthy relationship as a high functioning team.
I think I would like to add on to that. Speaking to, I don't think that you emphasize this enough in that communication should not go to individual cabinet members from our board because Linda knows what's on their plate and Linda needs to be informed. So we need to direct our communication to her and not give direction to individual cabinet members or staff or faculty or principals or things like that. It may feel like we have personal relationships with everyone because I feel like we do have really close board cabinet, great personal relationships. But and it may seem like it saves time to go directly to Dr. Rose, but I think that we really need to be cognizant of running board communication through Dr.
Yes, thank you. That is very helpful. As you know, the team is really busy with a lot of projects right now. I cannot even begin to tell you, talk about each one of them, and I will talk about each one of them. But they are in a small school district tasked just naturally because of our size with more things than assistant superintendents would be tasked with in larger districts. They don't have the staff to be able to delegate to. And we have a lot going on in our schools right now. Dr. Choi is dealing with a $200 million bond project, which is like a whole nother job. Responsibility. And then Dr. Rose, who I would say if we were, a football team or a baseball team, is an all-around player and has been, tasked with having to plug a vacancy at the middle school. Did an outstanding job, by the way, of managing that school through the end of the school year, but also still doing his assistant superintendent duties and responsibilities. Lots of complaints this time of year, lots of investigations that have to be completed, lots of mediations and negotiations with collective bargaining that the entire team was involved with and working hard on that we got through, which culminated in a 2-year agreement, a 3-year calendar, which I think we should all be very proud of. And thanks to the board for their support on that. And then Dr. Richter, who I think tries to avoid eye contact with me during executive team meetings because I'm always saying, what about this? What about that? And she has been so successful in bringing forward all of these programs and initiatives and is now working on financial literacy with me. And we're doing just lots of work all the time, thinking about how we can advance our goals. And then we have a public information officer who is split 50% between the bond and 50% district, who is constantly either out of the school, covering a person, place, or thing. She is constantly writing and submitting information to the media and doing press releases and informing our public on Measure M through the M memo, right? M memo? Yes. And really covering lots of events to enhance our social media presence, which she has done. And she has some statistics that she's going to be showing you later on today. And then Jennifer Delatorre, who is constantly, just trying to help me and the board manage all of the events and logistics and operational things and board agendas and board policies and board this and board that. So we are really, really, really busy. And I need to make sure that I am guarding their time as well, and that we're managing all that as effectively as possible. So thank you for that. And communication, as I've said throughout this presentation, communication is absolutely essential. Really, really important. And you guys are all master communicators. You're very good at, giving me a heads up when you hear things in the community, or you might see a post on social media, and I really appreciate that. Joanna does that a lot. Thank you so much for that. Really, really helps me to focus my time and energy on things that I didn't even know were happening. And sometimes it's a misinformation situation that needs to be clarified. So it's a lot, and I appreciate the feedback. And then how do we communicate? What style are we communicating clearly, respectfully, and consistently? And that's something that I work really hard on, is trying to make sure that I'm respecting people's communication preferences and styles. Some people would rather have an email from me. Some people would rather have a phone conversation. Some people would rather meet in person. And so I'm always mindful of their preferences, and making sure that we have time set aside to meet and to talk about important issues, and that it's not interfering with the business at hand. And then, what should our communication look like? What should it entail? What should it involve? What is our common themes and messaging? We have talking points that I have put together on parcel taxes and budgets and financing and all of that. And I think it's really important for us to all make sure that we are referring to those talking points, and that we are able to communicate common messaging. And then how do we avoid misunderstandings? And I think that's through clear communication and assume the best. And I am guilty of this, right? I always go to the dark side immediately, and I shouldn't do that. And I know that about myself. It's a weakness, but I feel like that way I'll never be disappointed. But I need to always assume the best in other people. And so I will stop myself and say, okay, you know what? I'm sure this person has great intentions. They're thinking about their child, or, there's nothing more important to a parent than the success of their child. And so sometimes, that comes across in different ways. And we all need to be sensitive to that, because I know parents come to you with complaints and concerns, and you have to stop yourself and think, instead of just thinking, oh, this is a complaint or a concern, thinking this person is really concerned about their child. And we're all parents, so we know what that feels like, to be concerned about your child, or worried that your child is not getting something or needs something. And so we have to lead with empathy. And I think that helps to avoid misunderstandings when we assume the best in other people and in ourselves. So Brown Act Essentials, just a brief reminder, the public's business has to be happening in public, right? You cannot have 3 or more board members in a room at any time talking about anything that would show up on an agenda. That's the cardinal rule. And so we need to be cognizant of that. You also cannot have serial meetings where one board member, talks to another board member, either via text message or voicemail or email, saying, how are you going to vote on this issue? And then that board member texts another board member, right? And then pretty soon you have 3 board members that are figuring out how they're going to vote on a certain item, and that would be a violation of the Brown Act. So stay away from that. You guys are so good about, just communicating during meetings. I don't see any text messaging going back and forth. You don't text me at all, hardly ever, about anything. So no business is conducted via text message, which is great. No business is being conducted via email. It's all, you read your emails and you don't respond, which is very good practice for the Brown Act. And this, of course, goes back to building trust and transparency with the public, and really avoids any kind of misunderstanding or issues that come to bear. So I think you guys are all experts on the Brown Act, and you all do a really wonderful job of managing that. So again, avoid serial meetings, reply all discussions and text chains. So you guys don't do that. Building consensus outside of meetings, you don't do that. Best practices, individual questions should come to the superintendent. Requests for information and clarification should come to the superintendent. Public deliberations should all take place at the meetings and not outside of any meetings at any time. And we've talked about developing governance communication norms, and you have done this in the past, which is very effective and helpful. Great governance teams have effective communication norms. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide because you've already got them in place, and you've adopted them in a publicly agendized board meeting. And so we will be sharing them with you just as a reminder at the beginning of the school year. And if you feel at that time when you look at them that they need to change at all, you can talk to the board president, and we can set aside some time to be able to work on that during a board meeting. So we don't need to go into that. So we have that. And now we're going to do a small group activity, which our president said would work best if we paired you up with a member of cabinet. So we're going to have one board member with one executive team member per group. And we're going to have a discussion question. And the discussion question, and can you make the discussion question a little bit larger? Thank you so much. So we're gonna work on what are 3 actions we can take during the next year to become a stronger and more effective governance team. Can you go over to the black box? And you're going to identify 3 concrete actions. Be prepared to share recommendations and the expected impact with the full group. So you can decide who's going to present out. So we're going to put
And it's in the area of the cabinet member, like if
it could be, but
or
just
is
what are you gonna, I think as a whole,
Well,
just based on this presentation,
okay.
like governance and communication, what are 3 actions we can take during the next year to become a stronger and more effective governance team? So I'm gonna pair you up. So Francesca, I'll work with you, and then Shelley, you can work with Dr. Rose, and then Joanna, you can work with Dr. Richter, and then Joseph, you can work with Dr. Choi, and Joshua can work with Rochelle, and Jennifer, you can join any group, and Kwok, you can join any group you want to. Okay. So let's get started. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. We got a quick activity. And the discussion question is, what are 3 actions we can take during the next year to become a stronger and more effective governance team? So starting with the Vice President, Mrs. Ryan, and Assistant of HR team.
and
I don't think we did a good job of following directions.
Oh,
Well, we came up with 3.
we expect nothing less.
We just discussed.
Of going, shall we go in the road?
Shelley's good at coming up with things impromptu though.
Yeah.
Madam Vice President?
You
Did we
want
come-
to share?
Did we come up
Yeah,
with?
Yeah.
Actionable.
So in our station, I was able to hear what Jason had to say about his perspective on, I don't know, it has something to do with, should I say it? I'm not
Sure.
Okay, regarding how certain things are handled, whether it's legally, perspective. The second thing we talked about, which was both a plus and a negative, is the board's accessibility to the community. We're very accessible, and in a small community, everybody knows everything. So I was pointing out to Jason, on the one hand, it's kind of a detriment because they escape the chain of command. They don't go back to the principal. They don't go back to the teacher to talk about things. They go right to the board level. They go right to the superintendent. Because I was telling Jason how one evening I went out to dinner and the whole dinner was hijacked by these people
talking to me.
Mhm.
And I didn't really even have dinner with Kelly. He sat there, but I had to go to another table and then they started talking. And so that was another thing. And then another thing we talked about is really how sometimes as board members, we can become passionate about something and get over involved. Like for instance, if Shelley got really interested in the scoreboard at the baseball field, and then she becomes overly like micromanagement in terms of I want that scoreboard, I want this, blah, blah. And so then it becomes like it pulls Jason away from what he needs to do because I'm sitting there focused on something. So we did talk about those three things. I don't know why you thought we were off topic. I thought
Well, I don't know if you have like
topic.
an actionable.
Well, it's actionable because you and I are now more aware of the perspectives. Not that you're going to take action or I'm going to take action because
Mhm.
I'm in the governance team and I don't do action. So I stay in my lane,
Mhm.
but we always feel. I feel that while I don't go and give him more work, that we need to build a relationship of trust because as board members, we are always told to go to you, but I never have talked to him about anything other than sitting at a restaurant, having a glass of wine or something like that. We've never talked about anything other than that.
Yeah, and it's that's kind of the thing because we also address that. Yeah. So let's go again. What are 3 actions we can take during the next year to become a more effective governance team?
Yes.
For like,
We thought one thing was enhancing communication. Communication is kind of like the key foundation for effective governance. And one thing that I think we get from the board gets from you is that weekly board memorandum that has very, I think it's very effective. So the proposal is maybe the school sites can do similar to a WBM. Doesn't have to be called that. And that would be communication from each school site to the executive team as to what's happening instead of waiting for it. Whatever it is, and it doesn't. If there's no updates to share, they don't share.
Yeah.
But if there is, then that would be something they can check.
So you mean like deeper than their principal message to
Yeah.
the community?
Yeah, like exactly.
Issues.
Yeah, that instead of waiting for it later on to like if it ends up either being resolved later on or if it ends up being escalated, then maybe during this weekly whatever it be called memo, it could be shared with the executive team or to Dr. Delatorre. Great. Yes. And the second one we had was just for effective governance, just having measurable metrics in order to achieve whatever the goals that we have set. So whatever goals we end up with after tomorrow, making sure that there are metrics that we can measure.
okay.
And then the third one.
Okay, and the third one was really increasing and maintaining the transparency that we currently have. We think that's been key to effective governance for San Diego Unified, and we'd like to really maintain that focus on the transparency that we have provided to our community. And with that transparency comes increased communication as well. We're really tapping into our influential community constituents to make sure that we are keeping them informed and being transparent about what's happening in the district because we know they are the voices in our community as well. And we feel that that has really helped us and been advantageous over the years. And we'd like to continue to do that and continue to strengthen those relationships. Good, thank you. Okay, Mr. Shago.
Okay, as you know, I think about 12 months, some of the community or the organization, they question about the budget, right? So end up I discussed with Stephen. So maybe we should have host some small group meeting. We can response to the Samanina School Foundation. Yeah.
Great.
So I mean maybe after the new semester, I think you ask the superintendent maybe yes, just ask give them the invitation, say the night to bring give is a team, yeah, to share with them about the budget.
Great.
Yeah. So then end up that then those individual of the organization jump into the individual role. Yeah, to people asking about the budget.
Yeah.
Uh,
The second action item proposed would be bringing visibility to the bond projects. So we have a number of early impact as well as major projects that will be launching or starting construction soon. We feel that or at least Mr. Kent feels that would be an opportunity to do some kickoffs where we can actually shed more light on these projects.
Right.
Keep going. Keep going. Okay.
You're on a roll.
A third action would be
the more for the people board member.
Third one, we prioritizing the attendance for public.
before, Mr. Chang.
Wow, overachiever.
Well, the last one, I add one more, a board president can actively the board member recognize and the serve on the committee assignment. Yeah. When the next the 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 open session, when each board member need to pick up the assignment.
Great. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Sung. You're at.
Michelle? You know.
Fire. You want me to go?
Yeah.
So one, I think we delegating, right? That, Mr. Something brought up is, additional closed session time. I don't know if it's available, doing it via Zoom, just to stay more in line with things that are going on. I know there's a lot of legal things going on. I don't think there's closed session at this moment, but, from my understanding, just having more.
Yeah, just like a probably less than 30 minute like closed session issue, so we don't spend time on it. But like a Tuesday, ultimately Tuesday, like once a week, and we don't need to do every single week. But when we need it, it's scheduled.
Okay, so, are you feeling like you're rushed during closed session?
No, some feel like I think. Well, that's a little bit true, but the second one of them is sometimes we feel like that we don't catch up enough. I mean, we spend enough, we talk about enough in the time, but now we gotta wait 2 more weeks and come back, talk about between that things, some of the changes happen. So I'm not saying that we should meet every single week to fill in,
Yeah.
but I think we should have option to fill in like whenever we need to actually get more.
Yeah.
I'll say like the closed session, 30 minutes, the June over the June. So we don't need to really rush to come here with chat timing like that. It's pretty tough. I think that
So we can only discuss during closed session the agendized things, and they're restricted or limited on what can be talked about during closed session. So there's certain categories under the Brown Act that we can agendize. But certainly we can be more thoughtful around planning for sufficient time for the board to deliberate on issues that are properly agendized. So I understand that. Okay.
The second one is, connecting the PTA School Foundation, and educating them more on the board goals for the year. So when, we're talking about certain initiatives that our board members are really piloting, like the AI task force, or Measure N, making sure PTA and our partners really understand what is happening. So when we do reach out and want to speak to these initiatives, they can support us even more through those. And
Can I
then,
make a comment on this? I think that this is a good idea. But right now, we use the open section put an agenda to share our goal. But unfortunately, we always only two one gentleman listen. Yeah. So maybe when we are going to present the full goal, we want to have a special function or something, or remind them to come to listen. Otherwise, yeah.
I think the board meeting is more like one way. I think the one we talk about PTA is more like a town hall kind of style. So they have more open discussions that because they have a completely different impressions when they come to the board meeting. It's just going to be like more one way, right? It happens.
Yeah.
It's designed to be one. So you cannot-
It's designed.
Yeah. And so I think we should have another opportunity to have like mentioned that maybe we can have the coffee with board member, right? Something
Yeah.
like that, right? So each individual, and as I say, if all the board member shows up and it's one person don't come than others, so what I suggest is each board member has coffee time, right? This month is gonna be coffee to friends, next month coffee to joy. You know, like that, right?
Okay.
So I think that way the person each board member has a specialty, and if they want to have questions and have discussions, and they can come.
Okay.
You know, more sections.
Yeah. So yeah, you kind of led into our, the third one was just like that confidential learn meet and greet with the board member. I think, some community members don't understand fully that board members' roles and responsibilities.
Right.
So that's an opportunity just to talk to them. Or what we really want to pitch is dancing with the board members. Dancing with stars, but dancing.
That's just 20%, Josh, right there. It's actually 20%. Okay.
No, yeah.
I think that was a lot of fun.
And in a more serious note, just having board members feel like they're approachable. They're just by definition board. They are also part of this community, and people should be able to approach them with their thoughts and comments. So making those lunch events, meet and greets a little more accessible. Right.
Yeah.
Like reaching out.
Yeah, supposedly, yeah, just being that one-way communication, and that just leans into more transparency as well. The community that you're here to talk, just open to listen.
Okay, well, those are great ideas. Now let's call on President Gill.
Okay, so Dr. De La Torre and I met. And we have three that are a little more global, I would say. So, well, maybe not this first one. The first one is aligning the school site handbooks to the board goals and the vision, with a focus on the Titan and the Fox handbooks. So we kind of touched on why earlier, and I think that's something that should be made a priority over the next year. Number two, which is sort of what we heard from everybody, more effective subcommittee work, meaning leveraging individual expertise amongst the board to work with the staff in their sphere of knowledge. And so, meaning you can speak to the cabinet directly, but it would be part of the strategic plan overall. It's not like you're just going to that, like Shelley was saying, she hasn't really met with Jason ever on like a professional capacity. And I think we can be paired up and maybe make the board members, leveraging our own expertise a little bit better. Like for me personally, having more construction and development background, being on the bond subcommittee is really effective right now, talking about construction, talking about facilities, master plans, but like Shelley's expertise in education can be amazing tool for Lena to, there's different things that we can do. So it's not like off limits, but it's part of a strategic plan.
Right.
Okay. Three, which is kind of a big one. And I do think that it's something that the board really should consider. It would be a future of learning framework, or call it a long-range strategic educational plan. Focus on how learning and teaching will evolve over the next 5, 10, 20 years. And we would need to align that with our facilities master plan, which is perfect timing as we're in that phase. Because how do we design these classrooms if we're not thinking about this building that's going to be a physical manifestation of our board goals, basically? If we're not thinking about what will it look like? And like personally, that's not my expertise, but I think as a collective, we have that expertise in the room, and we all bring something really important to this group. So I think that it would take a lot of time, but I think just like doing that facilities master plan, I think would be well worth it.
Yes, okay. We have heard from everyone now and what great ideas and suggestions. And so we will certainly be talking about this as a leadership team and an administrative team, and we will certainly share out some concepts and ideas around these topics in terms of how we can be a more effective governance team going forward. Because we do have a lot of work to do in the upcoming years. And so we're really excited about that work. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move forward to the next presentation, which is going to be brief and succinct. So I'm going to ask you to hold your questions until the end.
No, have you seen my slides?
They're
like
the topic is yes, they're like Dr. Richter is the slide queen. I will keep it. Yeah, it's okay. So what we're going to do is this: we're going to be flexible with the agenda because we're behind schedule, which is that's fine because we've had a lot of really robust food conversation, and that's what good governance teams do. We're adaptable and flexible. So in the afternoon, we are going to hear from the governance team on the state of district. So that's what we will come back and do through, and you guys can have as long as you want through the time that we adjourn if necessary. So we will, forego the other items on the agenda. It's not as important as the presentation. Okay, but let's go through this really quickly so that we can lay the groundwork for the Board of Education and understanding the broader landscape of public education trends in the state of California. In order to be able to really absorb and digest the material that's coming forward at the current state of the district, and then in preparation for your planning for board goals tomorrow. Oh, let me see if it works. Yes, okay, so we all have heard about declining enrollment. Statewide, enrollment has dropped 420,000 kids over the past 10 years, which means that it is consecutively year over year declining. The younger generations are not reproducing at nearly the same rate. And if you do some research on this, it will indicate that people are waiting longer to have children. So birth rates are steady for the older population and they're declining for the younger population. So young people are not having babies, and that is having an impact on education institutions. The majority of the school districts in the state of California are declining. So you're going to hear, and you're going to continue to hear lots about schools consolidating, closing schools. And the one thing that I have learned as superintendent, and even before I was superintendent, that one of the hardest conversations that board members and superintendents can have with their community is the conversation about closing a school. People are very emotionally attached to their neighborhood schools. And whenever you talk about consolidation or closing, it becomes a huge community event. And you may have seen our neighboring school district, if there's people picketing, news media has descended upon them. They're really covering the level of unrest and discomfort with the plans to close schools, to the point that the Board of Education has rescinded some of their plans to close schools. So what that means to me, and this is very serious. If you can't make the reductions that you need to make in order to stabilize your budget, what happens is the state of California will come in, take over your schools, which renders the Board of Education without power. You don't have any power to make decisions anymore. The state will come in and take over the schools. That happened in Inglewood years ago, and it has not fully recovered from that as of today's day. Transitional kindergarten expansion. That is the one area that has increased in enrollment in public education in the state of California. So as you know, the current governor is very supportive of early education. And universal transitional kindergarten is now available in all public school districts within the state of California. And this has expanded the enrollment at both Carver and Valentine elementary schools. And so when we heard conversations about space availability and traffic increasing at the elementary schools, it really had to do with two things at Carver: transitional kindergarten and dual language immersion. So that has increased the number of students that we have on our elementary school campuses. Yes, Mr. Chang.
Okay, as you know, around our school district, the Seminole community of Pasadena, so they are several very famous, right, and also quality and good the nursery, including the Seminole church, right? So when we in the meantime we promote this one, we think what is the impact between those nursery and the with us.
Well, nursery school provides service to a younger population of students. So they could go to nursery school and then come into transitional kindergarten as long as they're 4 years of age on or before September 1st. And so the impact is hard to really measure at this point, except to say that we do have, more resident students that are transitional kindergarten students in our community and in our schools. I don't know that that's necessarily taking away from
Because right now within the city of Seminole, they at least have 3 or 4, right? They're taking care of a young kid.
Yes.
So I know this side effect or the result we may not see right now, but maybe after 2 years, 3 years, so we see what's the result is competition or
Well, right. And so I think we have a really good, strong program, and transitional kindergarten teachers have to have 45 units of early childhood development in order to be credentialed to teach transitional kindergarten students. So they have to have specialized certification and advanced learning in order to be able to address the developmental stage of transitional kindergarten students. So, I'm not sure that the credential requirement applies to private. I don't think it does at all. So, we have a really good, strong program, and I think this is going to benefit our schools because the research shows that if you have rigor in learning at an early age, that will help you throughout your entire academic career score higher on all of the state testing metrics. So.
And if I could just add to that, so Delatroy, one of the reasons they need that early childhood education unit, those units, is because TK, transitional kindergarten, is considered year 1 of a 2-year kindergarten program. So it's almost like they've lumped them together, but TK is its own grade level in kinder, but it's considered a 2-year kindergarten program.
Yeah. Okay, so academic recovery. So statewide, statewide, we have seen some declines in state testing, and we have seen recently gradual gains in ELA and math work. So we saw a decline after the pandemic and schools were closed and shut down, and now we're starting to see schools recovering from that. And I think a lot of it has to do with programs like iReady and NWEA that a lot of school districts in California have been focused on providing individualized academic recovery programs for each one of our students. And graduation rates actually have reached historic highs statewide. So kids are not only attending school, but they're graduating from high school. So that's never been our issue in San Marino, as you know. We have a 99% graduation rate. And really, it should be 100%, except that we have kids sometimes that leave in the middle of the year to go back to wherever they came from, and sometimes we can't track them or find them, and that creates the lack of that one additional percentage point. So our focus statewide is it's shifting from remediation to acceleration. which is very in line with our community. Schools are investing in enrichment and advanced learning pathways. And again, we have 22 AP classes at San Marino High School, which is the same number of AP courses that Arcadia High School has, and Arcadia High School is 3 times the size. Chronic absenteeism is not an issue in San Marino. As you know, we have excellent attendance. However, it is a real issue in the state of California with students. So it's a problem that's ongoing, and rates are improving, but they are still not as good as they used to be prior to the pandemic. Mental health and wellness, we have seen an increased investment in counseling services and support wellness programs throughout the entire state of California. San Marino Unified School District was on the front end of that, and we had developed our wellness program long before many of the surrounding schools did so. And that was through the help of a student board member who spoke up and out and had this idea. And so the Board of Education supported the student's idea on the San Marino High School Wellness Center. And we were able to put that together, and it has really served countless numbers of students who are struggling with an issue and stressed out because of their academic load, or they might be struggling with a social relationship, a family issue, and we have been able to stabilize them and really support them throughout that issue and get them back into the classroom feeling 100%. So I'm really proud of that. Also, CSE is an organization that we have used to refer a lot of our students out to, and they have been a wonderful educational partner. And so thank you for Chang for helping connect us to that organization to support our kids' mental health and wellness. Staffing challenges are universally a challenge. There are fewer people going into the profession of education. It used to be that I think people were attracted to education not only for intrinsic value, but because it was a safe, secure profession, and there was a great retirement and great benefits. In many districts, probably 20 years ago, they offered lifetime benefits if you served your school district for 10 years or more. That has gone away because health and welfare benefits are increasing in cost, and it is increasingly unaffordable to provide lifetime benefits. Retirements, we had pension reform several years ago, which means that the newer individuals to the profession don't have the same rich benefits in retirement that the classic members do. And so that has shifted. Also, the percentage that is taken for out of your paycheck for retirement is increasing along with the district's contribution. So it is no longer a safe profession in that we're declining in enrollment statewide. And so lots and lots of new teachers are getting pink slipped in their first, second, third, fourth year of teaching. And so when you're getting a pink slip every year, you don't feel safe, you don't feel secure in your career. They're either having to change school districts because schools are closing and consolidating, or they're looking into other professions. So the system that we have in the state of California is that when you do a reduction in force, it's done by the least senior employee. So the last to be hired is the first to leave during the reduction in force. So that's really difficult and challenging. Also, math, science, and special education are designated shortage areas in the state of California. And what that means is we don't have enough teachers credentialed in math, science, and special education to be able to fill the need throughout the state. The other issue that we see is special education. The general ed population is decreasing or declining in enrollment, and the number of special education students in the state is increasing. So we're identifying more kids as special education and needing that support than ever before. And so, as you all know, special education is far more expensive to fund and support than gen ed students, the cost of educating a gen ed student. But good news is that the state is giving us, for the first time ever, more funds for special education than they have in the past. So it's still not enough. Let me be clear, it is still not enough, but it's a greater amount than they've ever given to us in the past for special ed. So that's good news.
Can I add something else?
Yes.
And just that the credentialing for special ed has become far more narrow, or once you would just get a special ed credential and you could work with whatever population came to you. Now they're requiring you to have like very narrow credentials.
Yeah.
So to work with specific populations.
When you say the name of the.
Meaning like now you have to have autism, or you have to have visually impaired, or you have to have hard of hearing. Whereas once before if you had special ed, you could work with any of those kids. Now you're only supposed to work with them if you have that specific
Authorization.
So Linda, would you do me a favor in the future, not today, obviously, but in the future, will you be able to provide the board with we have the 3-tier system.
Yes.
What is our percentage or number in terms of the over identification of special ed? So how many SSDs do we have, 504s versus special ed? Because it should not be inverted where your triangle is the most of the kids are special ed, then in the medium it's 504, and then the least is our SSCs. It should not be inverted.
Right.
Triangle for the MTS.
Yes, I would be pleased to bring that back to you. I think that is a conversation that we should have with the Board of Education, especially since we have been identified as being in significant disproportionality by the state. And so 15% of the sped budget has to be reserved to address significant disproportionality. And what that means is that according to the state formula, we as a school district are over identifying Caucasian students as special education and under identifying Asian students. And so part of that has to do with just simply our demographic of the population that we serve. Cultural issues, we've really looked into this and we've been working with the state of California. We are one of many districts that has been identified by the way as being in significant disproportionality. So this is a conversation that we are going to continue to have, and we are we're very aware of the need to make sure that we're employing positive behavioral intervention and supports and MTSS strategies. We are, really 4 years deep in terms of training our teachers and staff on those strategies, and our principals are reinforcing those strategies. So we are working really hard to make sure that we're managing this area, and we are seeing some positive movement in terms of reversing that. But we will definitely bring that information back to the board. So thank you so much for us. Stop. Thank you. AI in education. So this is, as you know, Mr. Tang brought this up earlier. It's been top of mind for Mr. Sung because Hua lives in this world every day. How is it going to impact our education? It's not going to eliminate teachers, but it is going to change the way teachers teach. And that much we know. We are working with an AI task force to identify strategies and systems in terms of how we will integrate AI into our education in San Romeo. We believe that having appropriate policies, training, and guardrails are something that we really need to focus on right away to make sure that everybody understands how to use AI efficiently and safely, and that teachers are leveraging AI in a way that makes their work more manageable. I think that for our principals and assistant principals, this is going to be a game changer in terms of helping them with operational tasks and administrative tasks and allowing them to get into our classrooms, which is where we really need our instructional leaders to be in the classrooms, working hard on supporting teaching and learning.
The last several months, we do have a case at the high school. there's a misunderstanding on the AI issue. So the teacher feels the student they do the paper through the AI, but the student think she has a ability to generate the some paper because she been trained for during she in the elementary school about the speech debate. So I just bring up this one. So in the meantime, we need to see is that the teacher understand how much they already involve AI and they are able to taking care for this issue. So instead of just accuse the student, so that and I think this is just one example, but later we'll more and more about the argument.
I can speak to that actually for the high school. Many of the teachers actually have the kids put their papers through an AI detector, and there are many that can be used. However, sometimes it is like a false positive, and that's where I think the human element needs to be engaged with the AI, is that recognizing when that student has the ability, and there's also ways to detect it if they are going through with the key, right? The key detection, how they're writing the paper is the thing too. But I think the teachers are doing a pretty good job. I know that there's always going to be nothing's perfect, but
Okay, well, thank you for that. We need to pick up the pace and get through this because we need to get to the tea house for our reservation. So I've already talked about fiscal outlook. We're gonna skip ahead, talk about things up. Community expectations are very high in San Marino, as we all know. They are in most communities right now, but especially in San Marino. So we need to be very transparent with our communications, our digital access, and our socials. And I think that now is the perfect time to have a public information officer helping and partnering with us on making sure that that happens. And we are competing with every district now for students because of the declining enrollment phenomenon. So we are competing not only with private schools, but other public schools as well. Please advance to the next slide. And so this is where I was talking to the board president about the fact that what we should focus on as a governance team is what should SMUSD look like in 2030? What is our vision for students, programs, and community impact? How do we sustain excellence in demographic decline and increasing fiscal pressures on district resources? There's always this push and pull with, the residents, especially thinking that we shouldn't have inter-districts, but inter-districts provide $14 million of revenue. If we didn't have that $14 million of revenue, this district would look very different than it does today. We would not be able to provide the robust education and resources that we provide for our resident students. So we have to keep that in mind and think about that. If you took $14 million out of our budget, you can imagine the devastating impact, and we would have to cut out a lot of the aids, right? We would probably just hit one in academics and nothing else. Okay, so we need to really focus on how we sustain what we have and what investments matter most over the next 10 years to ensure long-term student success and district vitality. So these are questions for the board. I'm going to leave this up on the screen because I want us to really be thinking about that when we come back. But let's go ahead and break for now and go have lunch, and we will come back and hear from our executive team.
okay. Welcome back, everyone. From lunch, it's 2:00. This afternoon, we are having our state of the district address. And I just asked the board to please hold your questions and comments until the end, so that in the interest of time, but we will get questions afterwards. Just note them down. If you have, thank you. We'll tell Shelley what she has.
Yes. Thank you, President Gill, members of the Board of Education, executive team. We are going to go ahead and get started with our presentation on the current state of the SMUSD. So let's go ahead and pull that presentation.
That's it, right?
Yes, okay. We get the first slide. Okay, so this afternoon, we are going to be talking about the 2025-26 SMUSD board goals as they stand currently. And the first board goal is to evaluate and enhance an environment of safety and wellness. Board goal B, maintain and implement fiscal health and sustainability. C, foster community awareness and understanding of SMUSD's mission and vision. And then finally, D, prepare students for postgraduate success. So this afternoon, you will hear from our entire executive committee on where we stand within those 4 goals for this 25-26 school year. Advance to the next slide, please. Okay, so for goal A, we're going to turn it over to Dr. Stephen Choi.
All right, thank you, Dr. Delatorre. It's our opportunity to provide you an update on what are some of the achievements we've made in the past year in regards to the goals in the area of evaluating and enhancing the environment of safety and wellness. Pleased to share and report that we continue to provide CPR and first aid training. We've expanded the offerings with online access, and they have been going very well. In terms of healthy meals, this year we continue to menu plan with our students. We've also expanded the number of serving lines in order to help get the lines through faster. And of course, with our new food truck, we've been enhancing and getting suggestions and feedback in terms of what types of offerings, what additional venues and opportunities we'll have to expand using our food truck. In terms of enhancements to some of the existing systems, some security enhancements we've made has been the new driveway gate at Huntington Middle School. We've also continued to expand and build in a routine for replacing air filters. Air quality is of utmost importance. We know that hasn't really diminished since the pandemic, and even with the wildfires that happened a little over a year ago, we do see and recognize the value of having clean air in all of our indoor spaces. And of course, with technology, we have expanded and enhanced our content filtering controls. So that continues to promote an environment of safety and wellness. With security cameras, we've expanded coverage. What initially started as the Department of Justice SEEK grant, if you will. Since then, we've expanded and provided additional coverage. We've also took the opportunity to expand new integrations with these cameras. The video creates a foundation, but it also allows us the opportunity to apply the technology in various safety-related issues. We continue to provide zero eyes training. We're expanding coverage of zero eyes technology to detect weapons on campus. And we're also working collaboratively with the San Marino Police Department in terms of offering training, continued training. In the area of cybersecurity, we continue to do monthly vulnerability scans. And with the elevated increase in number of cybersecurity incidents that affect K-12 education in the state of California, we were one of the first school districts to actually implement monitoring, detection, and response technology, which is really, in other words, 24-hour monitoring of our infrastructure and technologies. We continue to do that, and we actually serve as a model for many K-12 school districts in terms of promoting a safe cybersecure environment. And then finally, just a few words on compliance as integrate tightly with our ability to provide a safe environment. As families, continue in the San Marino Unified School District, we continue to provide useful resources to them. We are promoting health and wellness programs. And actually, I'll let Dr. Rose talk about SB 848, which is a new compliance standard.
So that is, we spoke about it previously. This is the new compliance for our volunteers to get fingerprinted and background checked. So that is goes into effect July 1st. And we have our first date set for July 2nd for parents to come to the district office. We will have someone there from 9 to 12 to fingerprint them, get them processed that way so we can make it as easy on them as possible. And then I'm in the process of working with another company, Lytics, which we just partnered up with. And it looks like we may be able to get the trainings down to just a few minutes, maybe 15 minutes or so, so then everyone can be cleared and good to go by the time they leave. And we will have alternate dates for those who can't make it on the 2nd. I know we already received some feedback that, hey, it's hard for me to get there from 9 to noon. So we'll find another date and have it in the afternoon so that we can try to get as many families as possible.
Thank you. So like all of our departments, our individual departments support and promote each of the 4 goals for the board. And so on this slide, you see one way that educational services has really enhanced the environment and safety and wellness for our students and our staff. Some of these are very familiar to you, restorative practices. We are pleased to say that we've just completed year 4 with restorative practices. It is district-wide. We have trained in the past 4 years, principals, assistant principals, counselors, psychologists. And then this last year, we took the opportunity to train all of our new employees, both certificated and classified employees. The expansion of restorative practices has been district-wide with regards to implementation of professional development. As you know, Ms. Karen Younger, who is the expert in restorative practices, has been willing to come out and train our faculty, certificated and classified, at all times. And this has really helped us reduce the number of suspensions district-wide because we're putting restorative options and systems in place for our students to be reflective and restore relationships that may have been harmed throughout the process. Positive behavior and intervention supports, which is also known as PBIS, believe it or not, we are in year 5. For this past year, we have really deepened and strengthened implementation at Harvard and Valentine specifically, to the point where both Harvard and Valentine were recognized as model schools. They, on 2 separate occasions, had other school districts and schools come out and visit them so that they can see the practices that they have developed, the systems and supports they have put into place to promote positive behavior and interventions, and to really ensure that every student feels like they belong and they're part of that community. They have received platinum recognition for 2 years in a row. That is something to really be celebrated. That means the work that they are doing exceeds expectations where they have received that recognition. This year, they have also received a signature recognition, which was supposed to be a metal medallion, but it ended up being like cardboard. But that was only given to a handful of school districts who have reached platinum status in PBIS. And I'm pleased to say that Harvard and Valentine received that recognition. For restorative practices, where it's a self-sustaining learning and implementation, as a team, we surveyed our teachers, our PBIS teams at our school sites, and our site leadership to determine if we wanted to continue partnering with the LA County Office of Education for them to run our professional development. And at this point, it was unanimous that our teams felt that they had received enough trainings, year 5, that they were able to develop and continue the implementation of strong and effective practices for their students. And that was unanimous. And so we're going to honor that, and we're going to be self-sustaining moving forward. And they do feel like they have put some concrete systems and supports in place that will be sustainable and effective for all students. When we talk about supporting and enhancing the mental health and wellness of our students, the Titan Wellness Center continues to do a phenomenal job. It is one of the metrics in our LCAP, and you can see the difference in the number of referrals for all 4 schools from 2025 to 25-26. The number has gone down a little bit. These are unique referrals. So a student is only counted one time if they visited the wellness center. They may have gone multiple times, but these are unique visits. And so this is one of 2 things. 2, that maybe there is not any anymore, but I think more importantly, the school sites are doing a great job with their counselors and their supports that they have in place so that students do feel safe and supported and that they belong on campus and may not need to attend the wellness center. And part of those systems is really what the elementary schools have implemented this year. They have implemented the calming corners in every single classroom at both school sites.
And then we continue to offer professional development in all of these, PBIS, restorative practices, de-escalation strategies, and trauma-informed practices. And then lastly, we have really taken a close look at the surveys, the climate surveys that we give annually in March, the climate surveys that are also known as California Healthy Kids Survey. And what we've done is really make sure that there was a focus on those results with our school sites. This data is disaggregated and given to our site leadership so that they can take it back to their school sites and create their own individual action plans to help support the areas that need additional focus, and to continue to strengthen areas where they're doing really well. Next.
We got back up. This is goal B, which is maintaining and implementing fiscal health and sustainability. The district continues to benefit from responsible budgeting. We continue to provide certified positive financial reports as we continue to monitor and review the budget. The district has committed reserves in the hopes of having a stable projection of its budget. And of course, with Measure M, we are putting our bond dollars at work with early impact projects as well as the major projects. We are diving into design and pre-construction soon. And of course, we are really implementing the facilities master plan. With parcel taxes, it's hard to believe parcel taxes have been in the community for about 30 years, but yet we must continue to educate and provide outreach on the purpose and the rationale behind the parcel taxes. And as we continue to do that outreach, we are also surveying and researching innovative ways to really maximize the use of those parcel taxes. So that's the work that we pretty much have done a lot this year, and we will continue to do into the new year. With our enrollment in ADA data, it's really the lifeblood of the school district. It's one of the key reasons on how we determine our budget. And with the district benefiting from increased enrollment and increased ADA, we are continuing to attract students with the innovative programs that we offer. In the areas of fiscal management, the district does continue to prioritize restricted dollars and one-time funds over unrestricted dollars. That's a best practice. We are looking very closely and monitoring for deferrals and monitoring our cash flow. And then more recently, we just launched a ClearGov transparency platform, which does a very good job of not just providing the details of the budget, but provides a narrative in terms of understanding our financial story. And then finally, with financial system updates, we are working very closely with LACO. For the past year, we've been receiving training, working on integrations and testing, and we're really looking forward to going live on July 1st with the new payroll system. As part of the presentation, we wanted to provide some key data points. This is not a new slide, although you have been familiar with our enrollment in ADA story. In regards to the distribution of students by grade level, it tells a really positive story because we can see that in the upper grades, grades 10 through 12, it's relatively smaller in size compared to our grades from TK all the way through 9. And that's a very positive story because it tells us that as we move forward, we'll see these increased cohort sizes continue to progress in future years. And then if we look at the data of per student revenue, this chart tells the story of where our revenues come from. And it's not a surprise. About a little bit more than 50% of our revenues come from the state LCFF, but more significantly, 30% of our revenues per student comes from local community. So that's a very telling story. So aside from knowing where the money comes from, we also want to see where the money is going to. And you can see that this chart summarizes the fact that most of the money goes towards instruction, the way that should be. And the district is doing a very good job of spending its money on instruction. And of course, this is another key data chart that tells us how we are in terms of teacher salary ranges. And it brings in a comparison of districts that are nearby. And it shows that San Marino Unified is, this is 2025 data, is relatively average. However, when we look at total compensation, it's a little bit better. You see that some neighboring districts have chose to emphasize more on the salary than the benefits. And for us, we are a respectable, continuing to offer attractive salary and health benefits.
So is that the second to the last?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any way to increase that?
a little blue square. Yeah.
And can you tell what is the health? We are better than
So health is at the blue block.
Yeah.
And you see that in ours, we have a fairly decent blue block there. And nearly almost every other district doesn't have that blue block. Except for the first one you see on the far left, which is Alhambra, which has a very generous health benefit there.
It can be seen.
All right. So next slide I have is a data point. This is straight out of our expenditure reports to the SMUSD Measure M Bonds Oversight Committee. And you can see that in terms of revenue from our first issue, $40 million, $36.9 million remaining. And actually, this is quite surprising. We received a little over $600,000 in interest alone from that $36 million. And then on the chart on the right, you'll see the expenditures. We spent about 1.1 million thus far, with 36.4 million remaining. So we closely monitor our revenues and expenditures with the Measure M, and we will continue to update the Bond Oversight Committee on these expenditures. We're making really good progress. We're thinking about some of the projects that are coming up and what a possible second issuance might mean. And a lot of that depends on our timing. So as we plan with pre-construction, we'll have a much better idea of the timing. And we want to take advantage and eliminate or at least reduce escalating costs. That's one of the biggest factors of why we want to move quickly on these Measure M projects.
Is the match fund still available or not?
So matching funds are still available for certain projects. And what we're doing, we have to apply for them and get in line. So we are getting in line with state matching funds. However, a lot of districts are also in line as well. So I would not count on state matching funds to implement a project, but it's something that we would definitely take advantage of once the project's complete. Just to provide some comparison, we didn't receive our matching funds from the state for the Barth Athletics Complex, probably a good 5 years after it was constructed. So it comes much later, but we want to get in line for sure.
So in the next 5 years, we may get some funding.
If the track record shows to be consistent with the Barth Athletics Complex, yes.
How much?
It depends on if it's modernization or new construction, and it also depends on the grade levels. So as we are providing these filling out these applications, we have to provide data to the state. And this is where I think I'll pass it on to Doug Gross.
So last year I shared this information with you, and the feedback I received was that you liked it, so I thought I would kind of update you with this year's. So with the outgoing salary at the end of this year, that is how much is leaving us. So it's roughly 1.66 million. And then with the incoming salary, so those are all our new hires, et cetera, it's about 1.45. And that includes adding some positions that we didn't have. So we have been able to add positions and still save money. And so we are going to be roughly $210,000 ahead, and 1% is about 400,000. So we're saving about 0.5%, and that is with adding positions.
And the upcoming retirements.
Retirement, people who are resigning, people who are relocating. It could be people we have said no, thank you, we don't want you to come back. It could be all of the above. There we go. So the next one, also last year, this was about potential retirements. So we have about 178 certificated members that are non-management. 39 of them currently, as we sit here today, are retirement eligible, meaning they're 55 and above. By the end of the upcoming school year, so this time next year, we will have 44. So which means that there's going to be roughly 44 eligible. Their salary equates to approximately 5.3 million, and that's about 25% of our certificated staff. So about 25% of our certificated staff is or will be retirement eligible by the end of next school year. 14 of those are currently, and 19 by this point next year, will be what we consider retirement likely, which is they will be 60 plus. And that is approximately 11% of our our certificated population, and their salary is roughly 2.3 million. If they were all to, in a magical world, if they were all to retire, they're roughly we can equate about $130,000 per employee, and bringing in new one, usually we use the number right around 100,000. And so if we replace all of them with a cheaper, we would save about 400,000 for next year.
So in the future, you were saving 400,000. Where did you put in? Is that in the general fund or you will set aside?
That will be general fund. This is kind of just a little bar graph. I'm showing you where everyone is. So we have 2 employees that have about 35 years of service, and then 7 from 30 to 35, and so on. So you can see most of our employees have 1 to 4 years within our district. That's not 1 to 4 years of experience. That's just 1 to 4 years of experience in our district. So we have a much younger workforce as far as experience in San Marino. So I can't stress that enough. Some of the people come to us with 20 years of experience. They just happen to be 1 to 4. And then what I added on this year, so we average about 10 years of experience. And then I went by school site. And so San Marino is, it says 10, but they're roughly, I want to say they're 10.4. And then HMS is the most experienced staff. If you take their years, they are actually 11.6 or something like that. And then Carver is also 10.6 or something like that. And then Valentine is actually 7.9. So they have really turned over their staff, and they have a lot of newer to our district. 8 to 11 doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but statistically that's a big jump. So that's just kind of the experience of all of our staffs. This is kind of our new hire retention. The blue bar, so these are for the last 4 years. We have been consistent at 87.5, which means we are retaining 7 out of every 8 that we hire. Some years, some schools do better than others. But as a district, we have been consistent 87.5. So this year, I think Valentine is holding on to everybody they brought on. HMS is losing 1. Harbor is losing 1 of their new hires. And then the high school also lost 1, but that was not because of performance. He took a job in Arcadia. So where he gets no benefits, but works more hours and more days.
Our retention is higher than compared to peer, right?
I'm sorry?
Our retention rate is actually higher than compared to.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks very good.
It's it is very. This is our percentage increase for the last 4 years. So some of our districts have not put in for 25, 26 yet because they have not settled. So this is a little bit skewed, but for those who have thrown in their information, as you can see, we're great. We have been very supportive of our staff, and as you as the board have been very generous. So
Does this include our settlement for?
this does not include.
Okay,
So this is up to the end of this school year.
got it.
So this would not include the 4 and 5 and the 3 and 3 that was being recommended.
Okay. So the on schedule is the light blue.
On schedule is the light blue, and then the off schedule is the dark blue. So you can see, like, for instance, El Monte City has given more on schedule than us, but has given less off schedule.
Right.
So, but we are extremely competitive. And I think this is.
It's me. So I'm going to transition now over, kind of touch a little bit more on what Dr. Choi presented earlier with regards to enrollment and ADA. And we know how important that is to maintain the fiscal health and sustainability of our school district. And so the white chart that you see right there in the middle, that was presented to the Board of Education in August of 2025. That is the start of the year. That is where we began with regards to enrollment, and it's a 5-year comparison. So when we look in the start of this school year that just ended, we started at 3242. And then you have the same graph for each of the 4 schools down at the bottom.
And as you can see, it's a positive trajectory. Enrollment continues to climb. What you see below each chart is current enrollment as of last Thursday, the last day of school. So although we started at 3242 district-wide in August of 2025, we ended at 3292 in June 5th. Yes, June 4th, excuse me. And then you see the same comparisons where we started at the beginning of the year for each school, and then where we ended for each school. And so that's positive growth for us because we know ADA translates into dollars for our school district. So we're able to provide the services, programs, and supports for all of our students. So we've been very intentional about sending letters about attendance, making sure that our students demonstrate and exhibit positive attendance and get to school each and every day. But last year in 24-25, what we did is we make a little shift with regards to the enrollment flyer that, let's go back. The enrollment flyer that you see on the top left right there. We started enrollment and registration in March every year, but only for elementary. And so then we recognized that our secondary students were looking elsewhere because they were enrollment students before we were able to get them. And so we opened enrollment up for all students starting March 1st. And we believe that has made a positive impact on our enrollment as well. And those are resident people that we open up in March 1st. And so this is a kind of a glimpse of what our enrollment looks like at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. Now, how do we sustain enrollment? I shared these charts last year, and I think it really gives us a great picture of how we're doing with regards to retention for students and where they're moving and what grade levels. You have at the top three and the top row is for 25-26, and we're comparing it to 24-25, which is down at the bottom. So the first chart on the left shows the number of students that withdrew from 25-26 and then also under at 24-25 and where they went. And so you can see this year, 28 students moved out of the USA, moved out of the country. Only one moved out of California. 14 went to private school, which is much less that went to private school with compared to last year. There was 21. And only 19 moved to another public school, whereas last year, 31 students moved to another public school. So just looking at this chart alone, it really shows that we're doing a good job with retaining our students. And if you zoom out just a little bit, last year, 82 students withdrew. This year, only 65. Now, there's a caveat. Enrollment is very fluid. Students enroll and disenroll, just as you saw on the chart on the previous slide. So this is a snapshot. This is at the end of the school year compared to the end of the school year last year. On the next chart, you see the students that withdrew based on grade level. And it really doesn't change much from one year to the next. In fact, our numbers are much lower this year, except for grades 2, 4, 9, and 10. But those are only graded by one student. And grade 4 is only graded by 2 students, right? And we don't see a lot of movement when we're looking at students moving from elementary to middle school, where we did see years back. And so I think that's a testament to how strong our middle school is and how well we're preparing our students to enter middle school and then high school as well. And then the last chart on the right is withdrawing students who are going to private school. And again, if you look at last year, 21 students withdrew to go to private school. This year, we only had 14. And those are the private schools that they are going to. And then on the far right is other. Last year, we had 11. This year, we only have 10. And other are schools that are not listed there. The schools that we have listed there are the schools that our students typically transfer to. And out of those 10 that are listed under other, you have one student pretty much going to every school with only one school getting 3 students. So it's just kind of one-offs for each school. Another way that educational services works closely with human resources and business services to maintain the fiscal health of our district is taking advantage and being very intentional with our grant funds, whether they're one-time grant funds or or ongoing. There we go. And so these are just a few that we have been utilizing to really build, develop, and strengthen programs that we have in place. You know, Prop 28 is ongoing, and we're using that district-wide to support the music and the arts programs. It's not cooperating. There we go. And it is a supplement, not supplant grant, so we can't use it to replace or to fund programs that have been funded with different funds before. You can only augment or supplement with these funds. So Prop 28 is using to hire additional music and art teachers, assistants. It's used to help fund speech and debate learning program that we're going to be opening up at the elementary level. It's used to fund our art teacher that is at Arthur and Valentine. And it is ongoing, so we expect to receive this every year. Learning Recovery Block Grant is a 3-year block grant that expired in June of 2026, but we received an additional $47,000 before June of 2026 to spend. I'm just going to read off my slides. And for some reason, it was disappearing. And Learning Recovery was really intended to support the achievement gap or learning loss from the COVID-19 pandemic, but we're using it across the board to strengthen performance outcomes for all of our students. And and the Learning Recovery has, I believe it's 9 allowable expenditure areas, so we do need to adhere to those provisions for this Learning Recovery block grant. It is anticipated for the next 3 years, we will be receiving about $50,000 each year for the next 3 years to also help support learning recovery. And a lot of those funds are really going to our school sites to help with intervention, remediation, summer school, and things that will really promote student performance outcomes.
Can we know altogether how much probably we can receive?
So we have the first allocation, I believe, was $948,000. That was 3 years ago. That has now been depleted. We have $47,000 now that we have embedded into the LCAP. And then each year for the next 3 years, we'll be receiving $47,000. So it's not a large sum. The large sum was the initial allocation that we received.
But total is about half million or less.
You mean for the million?
Oh, for all of those. Oh, I have to add that up for you. Yes, yeah. And then the other one is the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant. That was also a 3-year grant that is expiring June 30th of this year. And that was really intended to promote well-rounded education. For this one, there were 5 main areas that you can expend your funds, and it was instructional materials, professional development, school climate, library collections, operational costs, and safe expenditures. And then we have the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant, which was also a 3-year block grant, and that was also about $950,000. And that is also going to we have a little bit of balance left, but that also expires June 30th of this year. And that is really to promote professional development and opportunities for learning for both certificated and classified staff. The Reading Difficulty Screener, AB 114, which was implemented or instituted last year, starting the 25-26 school year, we only received it. It is a funded grant. We've received about $13,000 to help offset the cost of professional learning and purchasing of the screeners. And it's only for grades K through 2. And we are only in year 1 of implementation, but it will be ongoing moving forward. And that is really to screen or assess students in grades kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd to identify any difficulty in reading. And then last is the Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant. That is an ongoing grant, and that really helps support our after-school programs for our unduplicated students or students who are designated as unduplicated. And that is really our English learners, our foster homeless, and students who are designated as low income. They have an opportunity that the district must pay for to have extended learning opportunities up to 9 hours a day. And we service those students through Right at School. So they have 9 continuous hours of learning opportunities. And it's a wonderful program and it has been highly successful. And support and expand TK program materials and staffing requirements as well. And I think this is Stephen. Oh no, Rochelle.
All right, so goal C, fostering community awareness, understanding of SMUSD's mission and vision. So here I just kind of collected what my role has been the past 9 months since I've been here and what I've done to elevate community awareness of San Marino. First off is just strategic communications overall. So expanding the social media presence of our Instagram and Facebook platforms. Seeing how we're engaging with parents and community members and people that may not be a part of the San Marino community, as well as highlighting student staff program achievements, recognizing and working with principals to see what is a story, what can we share out, what will attract more people to recognize what will, to recruit them to come to San Marino. I think a few weeks ago, Mr. Caldwell connected me with a parent who had a student who was ranked nationally for chess, and he's in 4th grade. And we published that in social media, and it did really well. So it's like those kind of stories, those strategic stories that are outside just school district, what our students are doing, and highlighting those in the communications way. As well as media and public relations, really elevating more press releases and making things more professional and working with local media outlets like Tribune, but also the larger TV stations. I've already established relationships with them. So in a crisis, direct them to my line as opposed to the superintendent's office line. And sending them stories if they're not even getting them published. I'm still sending them press releases just so they know that San Marino is out there. Community and parent development. Obviously, this is a big one in the San Marino community. As you know, Parent Square is our main platform used for communication. So just continuing to use that to distribute those press releases so parents recognize where the information is coming from. And also migrating some of our Parent Square emergency alert use. Past few months, we recognize that Parent Square has emergency alert systems. So using that and making this platform our sole way to communicate with families. So it's a one-stop shop for them. Supporting PTA and staff partnerships. As the months have gone by, I've become more familiar with the PTA's involvement with this community and recognizing how much they can do for us. So really partnering with them, seeing what I can do for them to get the word out about what they're doing, vice versa. And then just promoting overall district events and programs. Of course, half of my duty is Measure M. So publishing the Measure M newsletter and project updates. And now that we're finally breaking ground on some early impact projects, a lot of my work will be revving up. So showcasing those construction milestones. So before and after pictures of the playground and just really showcasing what is being done and being transparent about it. And continuing those Measure M newsletters as well. And then visual storytelling. I think our community has really latched onto this, and it kind of connects to social media as well. Just having high quality photos and videos, seeing their kids in a high def shot is really, it's even like it was on Facebook today, It really is an uplifting thing. So continuing creating those photo albums and videos and having them as evergreen thing to use on future projects. And this also just highlights student experiences and district culture. When you see a kid smiling while performing the chicken dance at mountain time, it just showcases what the district is all about, that culture that we create.
Board member Simon, board member Chang are expert at the chicken.
Yes.
On social media. I think we got more hits on that video than any other.
You stay with neighborhood school district. So when they have something, yeah, but right now I just forward to the report later,
Yes.
including you.
Definitely, yes.
Can compare how what they promote.
Yeah, definitely. It's always great seeing. I'm a part of a local San Gabriel Valley public communications group. So they meet once a month just to discuss things that are going on, and you can actually see us off each other as well. This is just a snapshot of essentially October 1st, 2025 until May 31st, 2026, some of the social media analytics. We're essentially up in every single category. So we've had 300,000 views on posts, 4,000 interactions, which are comments or people are sending them to somebody. We've increased followers both on Facebook and Instagram, and views are up. Interaction is overall just up. And I just looked again too, and some of our interaction and likes are coming from non-followers on Facebook. So the algorithm is doing its job and reaching people that are not a part or following San Marino, but they're seeing our work. So, and they're engaging with it. So we like to see that. Just in the bottom left corner, you'll see just some of the top content. So the top 3 are actually all San Marino High School, and they're recent. One of them was the National Merit Scholar that got 51,000 views combined on Facebook and Instagram. Our San Marino High School senior who is going to MIT and then doing a Harvard camp that we recognize the board meeting also did very well. So as you can see, student achievement recognition is really important on social media. Seeing that academic come to life on social media is really great. But you also see the math team is on the bottom right over there. The state of the district was a big popular one. So these are also just outside activities as well. I know the speech and debate team always does very well. And you'll see that photo interaction is the most popular. So those high quality photos and visual storytelling really tie into the social media presence. And then other parts of the work that I've been doing is just other non-social media ways of highlighting our wins and achievements. So I kind of mentioned already the memo of the bond program, having that newsletter. We're averaging, so we've had 4 newsletters so far and averaging a 60% open rate. That is very good because the average newsletter open rate is 20 to 30%. So considering that we haven't broken ground on anything yet, and we're just been doing highlights of what's been going on, the designs, and still averaging a 60% open rate, I think is a early testament to people very interested in the work, and I hope that just increases as the work goes on. And also the Tribune does do a print edition of the memo every time we release one, so that relationship with the media is very important. And then you can just see examples of utilizing Parent Square for the primary source of parent communication. So anytime I do a press release, I'll post it on our website, push it on Parent Square, I'll send it to the media, just hitting all of those different milestones. And the most exciting one, I think, coming up, the front page cover you'll see, they'll be released in the coming weeks, is a 2025-2026 report card of the school district. So this will be a high-level overview of everything we've accomplished this past year. So we'll look at all the AP scores, many kids have taken AP classes this year. We'll have a page on the budget, doing that transparency there, as well as Measure M, and highlighting the 4 A's, arts, academics, athletics, and activities, some of the achievements that our students have made this year. So it will be about 10 pages and just be a one-stop shop that we can distribute online, and we can do some print editions as well. So it'll be like almost like an annual report. So that will be coming soon. I'm putting the final touches on it.
Thank you. So one way that educational services is continuing to foster community awareness and promoting and understanding the district's mission and vision, as well as allowing opportunities or providing opportunities for input, community input, is through a variety of different platforms. The Local Control Accountability Plan, we have our LCAP meetings, as well as the District English Learner Advisory Committee. Both of those committees
are comprised of teachers, administrators, but mostly parents. Obviously, the District English Learner Advisory Committee is made up of parents of English language learners. And our LCAP is a great mix of parents. We've had strong participation in both of these committees over the past year. We have, for each of those, we have 4 separate meetings. They're an opportunity for parents to collaborate. For LCAP, it's an opportunity to share our LCAP, review outcome data based on our previous or current LCAP, and then collaborate and partner with our partners in that committee to develop next year's LCAP. For the District English Advisory Committee, it's an opportunity for our English learner parents to collaborate, to build friendships and relationships, and also an opportunity to send out an English learner needs survey to all of our parents of English learners to get their input on how we can best support our English learners. This year, we really made an intentional effort to strengthen both of these committees or platforms, if you will, to provide opportunities to share the district's mission and vision. And what we got is, we didn't know we did this in San Marino. We didn't know this program was available. So these 2 committees were very instrumental in really, I want to say educating, for lack of a better word, our community, our parents, on what San Marino offers at all levels, starting at TK all the way to high school. And it was very informative. It was very well received. And our parents were actually grateful. We had different departments present at each of our meetings. And so they got a full overview of what our district offers based on the different departments. And we had nothing but positive feedback from both of those committees. Another way to build community awareness is really community study committees. And this is really giving our constituents voice and choice in what is happening and decisions that are being made, particularly when we did our curriculum adoption. We had a committee made up of teachers and administrators, and they had a voice in looking at and vetting the potential curriculum, but also for the reading difficulty screener, our kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grader teachers, those that are at front lines, got to sit down and review and evaluate and make a decision. But also our PBIS and UBL teams, which are now both self-sustaining. They are really taking the reins and creating a program and scaffolds of support that would best support their school sites. Parent Information Night has been highly instrumental in making sure that our parents know what's happening in our schools. We did that for Mandarin School Language Immersion programs. We do that every year. We give an overview of the program, the expectations. We do the same for iReady and IXL, which are our formative diagnostics that we give to students, K all the way through grade 12. And then we also do parent information nights for restorative practices. So when the students go home and they say, we have to sit in a circle and talk about our feelings and talk about what we did to Linda, our parents understand. We also took the opportunity to use Partnership for Awareness to send education and some information nights with our parents. And so I think that has been instrumental in really showcasing our district's vision, mission, but also allowing opportunities for input from our community. And then lastly, attending the PTA meetings at all 4 schools, that has been highly instrumental because we know our PTA is the backbone of our schools and they are also the voice of their school communities. And we really engaged in consultation and involvement this year with them and looking at them to help provide us some resources, information, and be the voice of the community and come back to us and say, here's what we're hearing, here's what our parents are looking for. And that really helps strengthen our partnership. I know these last couple of months we met with PTA at the elementary because as we're thinking about launching our elementary speech and debate, they rolled up their sleeves and took the initiative to do whatever it takes to make sure that that program is successful. So for ed services, this one is a huge one for educational services because it's all about teaching and learning. On the left column, you can see all of the wonderful programs. This is really nothing new that I haven't presented about before. These are all the wonderful programs, assessments, and academies that we run district-wide, from multi-tiered systems of support all the way to tutor.com down at the bottom. But this is what we do now. And then what's coming new are the little circles that we see on the right-hand side. We're very excited to launch a dual enrollment program at Huntington Middle School this upcoming year. We took this entire year, 25-26, to partner with PCC, have multiple meetings with their dual enrollment department to figure out how we can make this work. And so it will be offered to eighth graders. And right now we're looking at a college and career counseling course, but that may change. Our goal is really to align it to our academies, whether it's a dual academy, a dual immersion academy, or the medical arts academy. That program will launch in winter of 26-27, so second semester. We're also very excited to launch an elementary speech and debate program. And this really was born from what Dr. Delatorre shared earlier, is watching our students at our board meetings come and represent their schools. They are so articulate and so well spoken that I think we need to expand speech and debate to our elementary students. And so we did a lot of research this past year, looked outside at various companies that offer speech and debate for elementary, but then turned inward and looked at our own speech and debate program and the staff that we have in San Marino Unified, because those are our experts and those are the ones who really have a very successful track record. And so they will be offering speech and debate to our 4th and 5th graders commencing in the fall of 25-26. There will be a head coach and an assistant coach at each school, Carver and Valentine, each elementary school. And this program will be funded through Prop 28. So it's wonderful. And then lastly, looking at AB 29-27, this is a financial literacy requirement that states that all high schoolers must have at least one semester of a financial literacy course by the time they graduate high school. And that is, I believe it's 30-31 school year. And so really looking at what that looks like, Dr. Wolf, Ms. Penelora, and I have been in multiple conversations about what that could possibly look like at the high school level. But then Dr. Delatorre and I were talking about how can we expand that district-wide, because all students TK through 12 can benefit from financial literacy. And so we recently had a meeting with Schools First, who better than to partner with our own Schools First, and looking at how we can build a cohesive, comprehensive program that will serve all of our students. And we're starting that work now, and that will continue through next year. We're hopefully launching it in fall of 2027. So we're excited about these new 3 programs that we're going to be bringing. And then quickly, just universal design for learning really is a framework that our teachers have been using beautifully. It has been well received and well implemented at all 4 school sites. There is a universal design for learning team at each school site. They engage in 4 walkthroughs. We call them instructional walkthroughs throughout the year, really looking at what their instructional practices look like and what they would like to focus on. This past year, our principals received coaching from Focus Schools on how to strengthen their instructional walkthroughs, and they shared that information then with their teams. And so all of our sites are engaging in this, and we're going to continue to do that next year. Mandarin Dual Language Immersion Program, I can't say enough about this program. It has been a wonderful program to implement. Each year we have more and more families that are interested. I wish I could expand it and have many more classrooms, but believe it or not, we are in year 4. We are starting 3rd grade, the grade where students will now be taking the state assessment. So I'm looking forward to seeing that information come out. We have high retention, even though you can't see that age up there. And for the last 2 years, we've had to employ a lottery. There's strong interest across the board. We have highly qualified teachers who stay with us. We grab them when we recognize their talents and we bring them in, and they do a phenomenal job. This past year, we were very intentional about providing opportunities for our Mandarin Dual Language Immersion teachers, and they went with their English colleagues because they're a team, and it was highly beneficial. We actually found one that catered to the Mandarin Dual Language Immersion program, because most of the ones they've attended in the past have always been around Spanish, which is the most popular one. And so they were very grateful for that and brought back a lot of great information and resources. We always do a parent information night, which is very helpful. We actually do 2 every year. One at the beginning to inform our parents about the program and the expectations. And then once the parents and the students have been selected, to go take a little deeper dive into what the program will look like. This year, our staff was piloting Level Learning, which is a Chinese curriculum. And so we're gonna evaluate that and hopefully bring it to the board with a recommendation for adoption once they're done with the pilot. And then, as I said again, it's just the evaluation of our 4th year. We're very excited that it's going really, really well. Retention has been very strong. Medical Arts Academy, same thing, 4-year lot. We're in year 4. A lottery was employed this past year because there is strong interest. But this year we've been looking at internships. Dr. Wolf was very instrumental in securing an internship this year for their students. Although it's an entry-level internship next year, he's already working on strengthening those internships. So our students can have more than one opportunity to participate in an internship. Sure. Yep, and this is the pathway. Now, this has evolved over the years, and this is the latest pathway that has been built. And as you can see, it delineates 9th grade, 10th grade, all the way to 12th grade. And I can give you hard copies if you would like as well. Can you get a copy of it? Absolutely.
So I remember that we briefly talked about the last year languages, like world. So is the foreign languages in this transcript, we only have to get one.
World languages?
Is that a Spanish or is that a Spanish or Chinese?
Yeah, for the 10th grade, are you looking at 10th grade?
The ninth grade. The
Ninth
ninth
grade.
grade.
World language. See that part? Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they only have to take 1 year,
Mhm.
or languages, not 2 years. I thought require was a 2-year foreign language. Because the second one is a world history.
2 required, 3 suggested. Previously taken 1, 3.
But in this transcript, there's only one.
This is for the medical arts pathway.
Yeah, so if you do the medical art pathway, then you don't need to take the.
But they can, the students could have the opportunity to take it during summer.
I mean, you don't-
So where it says elective,
Right.
that you can put slotted in there. Those are electives.
That's,
In grade 11 and 12.
I mean, but they have to take it, right?
For UC.
It's
But just
still,
for you.
it's still elective, the category.
Also, you don't have to take the languages. I thought that you have to take it too.
You don't even actually need a language to graduate.
Not to graduate high school.
I like the way
Of
to.
course, yes.
So you have to
When I'm going to college,
Yes,
then that's a different.
It's a kind of usually requirement.
That's why it is elective. Highly.
What letter is it? A through G? I can't remember what letter it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I'm just verifying with, Dr. Wolf.
You can also take the test. Just
Yeah,
and get credit.
yeah.
So
Oh.
like, say you're really good at Mandarin, you can take the test and get credit for college, so you, or high school, so you don't need to
Oh,
take any.
you can.
Yeah.
So
Right, we can test
you can get any language.
Yeah.
Let's say you can.
Well, the ones that they offer.
Who's the high school? Oh,
No, the UCs are
you
called.
see.
Yeah. So the UCs are the ones who really want the 3 years, and of course, it's dependent on what your major will be, it's really part
Like,
of
or like even Latin. Take Latin, yeah, to get credit.
but
So this is teach Latin.
Yeah.
So this one is activity that each of our school sites do. They create a school scorecard, and it really highlights good news, everything that they want to showcase that's going well at their school, areas of growth that they have seen based on data analysis or their data inquiry cycles, and then bold steps, what programs, what strategies are they going to put in place to meet those goals. This started with a partnership with Focus Schools. The leadership was trained in 23-24. Last year was principal coaching, and this past year, as I mentioned earlier, the principals engaged with consultation with those representatives from Focus Schools. And this has been a great tool for principals because it allows them to share this information with their staff as well. And they have every grade level and every department working towards the same goal.
what is done with it? Is it distributed somehow, or
It's it's internal right now.
Oh,
Everyone, yes.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yes. And what our students have done, they've taken it a step further. It's not, they created one for their school, but they've also created one for every department in secondary and every grade level in elementary does their own. So the professional development days, when they engage in their data inquiry cycles, they take that data and they create this work. And then every faculty meeting, when they're talking about the data, the practices that they've committed to, they bring this back to revisit. And can you please? Yeah, I cannot see it.
Emailing everyone right now.
Oh, okay, you've got it. Okay, thank you. Oh, the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Very quickly, Princeton Review, tutor.com. At the end of every year, we evaluate the usage to determine if we would like to move forward or not. As you can see, this year, usage has soared. Our students are really taking advantage of it. And so when we're considering purchasing it again for next year, again, tutor.com is 24 hours free tutoring, homework help online. The data clearly shows that our students are using it and it is worthwhile to move forward with it again next year. So we hope that the board will support us in that and having tutor.com for our students next year as well. And they're wonderful. Tutor.com, every month they give us usage reports. And so we're able to track the data. And we're able to track the content areas or the subjects that students are seeking the most request or the most help for.
Is it tutor.com and Princeton Review?
Tutor.com is the name, but Princeton Review is the parent company.
I see.
Yes. Attendance, this is really important because we continue to issue our 369 attendance letters. Our site secretaries are wonderful about sending these out to really promote the message of positive attendance. And as you can see, based on the right-hand side on the top, chronic attendance rates have increased. So last year, 2 years ago in 24, we don't have 26 yet. In 24, our attendance rate based on the dashboard was 96.98, and that was up 0.42 from the previous year. On the 25 dashboard, attendance rate went up 0.23 percentage points to 97.21. And so we believe strongly that the focus and the attendance letters have had a positive impact on attendance, as well as the work that our teachers and our principals are doing to promote positive attendance. And then down at the bottom, you can see the attendance rates for the district, Harbor, Valentine, HMS, and SMHS, and they are all very, very strong. Formative assessments. These are the assessments that are given 3 times a year. iReady for elementary, K-5, and IXL and MAP. MAP is the assessment, IXL is the learning path for grades 6 through 12. It's given 3 times a year. For secondary this year, we recognized that it was a lot of testing for our students. And so after multiple meetings with teachers and administrators, we decided that our 11th graders have a lot of testing going on during that time. And so they are not taking their trimester 3 assessment. And our seniors are also not taking their trimester 3 assessment because they'll be graduating and they don't really need that data for the following year. But I thought it was really interesting to look at the scores from 25 to 26. This is spring assessment. So this is the 3rd trimester. When you look at iReady, scores stayed stagnant. 89 in ELA, again 89, 90 in math, 90 in math for both years. It's hard to grow when you're already high achieving. And so with this data, we're really going back, taking this data to the principals to understand, are they using it? Why are we not seeing growth? Is there a reason? To really disaggregate the data and find the areas that we need to focus on. For IXL and math, we were very, very excited to see the increase in scores when you compare the last 2 years. So grade 6, 89 and 89 in math, that stayed same, and so did reading and language arts, which was very interesting. I had to double check that because I wanted to make sure that was correct. But when you look at the other one, 7th grade math went from 84 to 91, language arts 62 to 74, math 90 to 87, first grade 8, 66 to 67, grade 9, 88 to 95. Jason. Oh yeah, we could. Yeah.
Good.
Language arts 62 to 84, 10th grade 87 to 92 in math, Language arts 52 to 87. That's a significant increase. We're very pleased about. Same for grade 11, strong increase, and grade 12 as well. So the advantage of having this data is not to say, look how high we scored, but really for the sites to take this data and disaggregate it based on individual students to see where they need additional support and where they need enrichment, right? So if they've already mastered the standards, how are we challenging our students to continue learning?
Are these in cohorts or are these like same grade level with different kids?
No, this is one grade level, 25, 26. They're not the same
Different
kids. They're not the same kids.
That's
Right.
right.
If you wanted to do cohorts, you could go sixth
Yeah.
grade last year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
Right.
more accurate, right?
Yes.
What we do with that set of kids.
Correct. They look at it both ways. Because one way you're also looking at your instructional program, right? And how to strengthen your instructional program. And then the second way is that's when you disaggregate it by individual students. Because you can say, you know, Lena didn't do so well. Let's look at last year and see how she did as well. And if there's a pattern, then that's a different type of intervention.
Was some dramatic change in the high school English program? I mean, seems like we jumped back.
That's a huge jump. Yes.
Do we have like some significant?
So we just got this data a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And so this data will be given to our site principals to take it and like analyze it and disaggregate it to really see where the difference in scores were, what students did really well, what students need additional support.
Just curious why we did so well.
Yeah.
So we can copy more.
I do know that at the high school, there was a stronger emphasis on this. This is really important. Because once you take the assessment feeds into IXL, which creates a personalized learning path. So what I'm learning is going to look very different than what Dr. Delatorre is learning based on her assessment. And so the importance of that is to be able to provide the correct or appropriate support to allow the students to continue learning. Yeah, so we're very pleased when we saw this.
Are you gonna work on I mean, I know we're pleased with the data, but we have heard a lot of feedback from the younger grades that it's too much.
So I have not heard anything from this.
I think what President Gill is referring to is screen time.
No, I'm not. I'm
No.
talking about NWEA and
At the
and
second,
IXL
at secondary, not elementary.
at HMS and at elementary.
So I went in elementary, I excelled in NWA for six.
Everyone, it just seems like this is just really too much testing.
Yes,
Too
well,
much having to go back and do corrections, especially at me.
yes. So one of the changes that we did make was that we didn't hear so much about, we did hear that there was a lot of testing. That's where we made the adjustment. But we also heard that students were working for 2-3 hours at a time on IXL, trying to get a perfect score or an 85 so that they go on to the next unit. And so after meeting the administration of each school, we decided that the rule was going to be moving forward, that you are only getting one assignment in lieu of an homework assignment. Because what we saw were teachers were giving, let's say, an assignment from homework, but they were also giving an IXL assignment. And so you get to choose one or the other. We don't want students going home and spending 2 or 3 hours on IXL. And students did not have to reach a certain score for each assignment.
But that I think that's great because like it kind of goes back to like our alignment when the teachers are told, well, here's the plan that they have to follow.
Right.
And so they're trying to do that, but then they also have their own
Yes.
curriculum they have to get through, right? So
Correct.
I think that's good that you address that.
Yeah, just comment on one of the weaknesses in IXL was like, I know that one of the students was doing the IXL test and they got the wrong answer because they have extra space in. Yeah, it was same answer, but the IXL took it as wrong. And the way IXL works is once you get 95%, if you
Yes.
get wrong on, you go back order to the 80%. Then the kids literally throw the laptop.
Yes.
Yeah, he got so upset.
And to be clear,
Yeah.
that's what was happening at Huntington and the high school. There were inconsistencies in what the expectation was with regards to the homework assignments. And so what we did is when we met, we wanted it to be uniform so that everyone was following the same guidelines. And I think that was really helpful. And we actually did receive feedback from parents saying, hey, I'm really looking at things. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. One of the other things that we've been working hard this year is we noticed that over the past year, when we're looking at data, past data, English learners were not performing at the same rate as our non-English learners. And that just by default is not surprising because they're learning a second language and many of these students are coming to us with minimal English skills. And so we've been planning with the TOSAs. I have Danielle and Crystal who are phenomenal. And they know ELD like the back of their hand. And so we put together a 3-year ELD plan for our elementary because at the secondary level, they have a designated period to learn English as a second language. For elementary, it's a little bit different. They don't have a designated period. And so we put together a plan that we're going to roll out starting in the fall to really address the needs of the specific needs of our English learners. And all of those are aligned to the EL roadmap, which was launched a few years back. And it works off of 4 principles: process-oriented and needs-responsive schools, intellectual quality and instruction and meaningful access, systems condition that support effectiveness, and alignment and articulation across systems. And so we're going to be utilizing professional development days, teacher collaboration days, and staff meetings to really support our teachers in what quality, effective ELD instruction looks like. But we're also going to be utilizing our TOSAs to push into the classrooms and provide model lessons. And I think that's something that our teachers would like and appreciate. And so that's what we're going to be launching this fall. If you don't mind zooming out. And then technology.
All right, I'll try to make this quick. Since Stephen's gone over a lot of this already, we're expanding our Zero Hours coverage and training. We'll be bringing that to the high school in the following school year. Continue camera expansion. We're adding more cameras. Next on the list is Huntington. We're going to be piloting access control, alarms, and guest monitoring, reunification, what Linda was talking about earlier, having a system that helps us reunify our students. We're planning to have that all combined with our Mercado system. We're piloting the systems. For fiscal and the sustainability, we redesigned our website. We got that done for free, and we will continue to research payment processors to make things easier for our staff and parents. One of the things we're looking at piloting next year is parent school websites with payments, having everything in one location. Policies and digital privacy. We adopted BP 0441 for AI, and we will continue to update our other policies and post them for transparency. Update our COPA compliance and simple compliance applications, and we're planning to use site MDPA services for digital privacy agreements. Equipment, because of the raising cost of Chromebooks, we decided to go MacBook Neos for our 9th grade this year. We are piloting front row AV systems for our classrooms and piloting paging, time clocks, and emergency notifications because of the aging equipment in our classrooms. And we will continue to support MDLI, medical arts, and continue PD for our interactive boards. AI task force, we partnered with LACO this year to help bring AI to our schools. We had LACO come in as well as our teachers and present AI tools at our Tech Academy this year. It was overall a great success, and our most popular classes were surprisingly Excel and Canva. AI pilots coming in the fall. We're looking at some programs we can potentially pilot at a larger scale than we did this year. AI guidelines for each school, that's also in the works and that's coming. And we will continue PD and support with Tech Academy.
By the way, do you also pay attention about the cyber security issue? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We're always looking at new tools. Everybody sends us what they see. Content filters is the big one. Firewalls is the big one. We're always looking at new tools as they come. Okay, this is an example of guidelines that maybe coming next fall. This is just an example, but we took a lot of what some of our parents noted, some of our teachers. We got rid of all of the graphics, and we tried to make it the colors are going to change, but we try to make it the colors simple to make this easy for teachers and students to read. The wording's a little small right now, but we're going to work on that. It's just an example of one page that we'll have for each school site. So some of the initiatives that we're hoping to take a look at are NVIDIA. NVIDIA has a high school opportunity that we can explore. It's a new program. They have several different partnerships right now. Nothing is pre-built yet, but we want to look at some of these partnerships that can help create some pathways. NVIDIA has an AI training course online through their academy. Most of it's self-paced and low cost. They focus on things like redoing coding to focus on GPU coding. That's how AI is processed with GPU coding. Infrastructure and technical networks like neural networks. They also have partnerships with StudyFetch and CK12. They don't have anything concrete right now, but they're starting their beta program. And that's something we want to maybe reach out and see if we can partner with. Honin is the AI curriculum courses that they are partnering with NVIDIA. That's done by StudyFetch. The other network we want to explore is Cisco Networking Academy. Dr. Choi signed us up for this a long time ago. It takes quite a while to get approved, and we recently did get approved. This is a great opportunity because it helps build pathways for career-ready AI, cybersecurity, and networking, and data science pathways. These are great CTE pathways, and they've had these courses curated since 1997. So it's nothing new that we have to recreate. It's all there. Other schools have been using it for a very long time. And it prepares our students for industry standard credentials like CCNAs, CCSTs, and cyber ops security. A lot of them are free and low cost courses as well. And just real brief, we talked about Linda wanted us to talk, or Dr. De La Torre wanted us to talk about screen time briefly. And we haven't had time to go over a lot of it yet. So I just put up some brief statistics that our students, how they use their accounts and their devices. These numbers are only for San Marino student emails and San Marino devices. So anything they do on their own time, their own devices, it's not up here. So, but most of our students are using most of their screen time on Schoology where we want them, and on Google Docs where we want them. The third highest is on YouTube. So that's a little bit high. That's something we might want to consider looking at. And then after that, IXL. So IXL is a big component of screen time. AI is up there, ChatGPT, but it's not that high on the list.
What is new tab?
I'm sorry?
What's new tab?
I should not have removed that. That's just a new tab. Students spend a lot of time on a new tab.
Oh, like
Opening new tabs.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Going through some of the history,
What
students,
is that?
some of the students love to spam that new tab button and they just, yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
You were still using the YouTube in their school device, YouTube.
Correct.
So we have some sort of the filtering,
yeah.
right?
we do have filtering. It doesn't prevent them from going to YouTube, but it
Yeah.
prevents them from viewing a lot of videos.
So then there is YouTube utilized by teachers too, right?
Yeah.
You
So some-
put in YouTubes and stuff.
So my point is, I rather my kid using they're gonna watch the YouTube. I let the kid using the school device to watch YouTube.
Right.
Their own personal device to watch YouTube.
Makes
Right. So I think we should kind of still get a positive.
Yeah, we have our settings on moderately restrictive for YouTube.
Yeah.
But we can look at other. But and when you break it down to a daily, this is a daily overall. I didn't break this down per grade or anything. This is overall. Our students are spending almost 8 hours on learning platforms like Schoology, Google, etc. And they're spending about an hour and almost 2 hours on videos. Not much on AI tools, so it's not
Is this per day?
per day,
Per student?
per student per day. This is an average, so students who are on video a lot more than others will skew this. But
Yeah,
this is
I
on
would love to
average.
see that broken down by grade.
Yeah. Great
And if
platform.
the student left their device on Schoology,
Yeah, they would
it's-
run.
it's gonna run. There's no way to tell if they're actually physically.
Right. Yeah.
And if they left that YouTube video up, just sitting there, there's no way for us to tell.
It's still good information to look at, and so I would love to get that disaggregated. Thank you for putting this together.
Yeah. And AI tools is very little, less than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're getting training and when you're at conferences and you're looking at all this, because I know Dr. Delatorre had asked us to think about, can you envision or imagine the school district in 4 years, right? So where are you seeing the shift now? Because we definitely see a shift from more of the coding to AI now, right? We're seeing that. So where are you seeing the shifts?
So, just seeing a lot of other school districts, they're taking shifts away from coding, but they're reinventing some of this. So instead of coding, just not doing coding completely, they're doing more Python with the emphasis on GPUs. So GPU coding, because that's not going to go away. AI still needs somebody to help them with that backend. They're doing a lot more
So
stuff.
instead of 16 though, right? Like you're looking at, speaking.
Not necessarily, not necessarily. So, I'm actually that industry. So basically what happened is, surprisingly, 10% used to do the regular coding, then 8% that do the regular coding, they're gone. But GPU coders, they need to hire 15. So you ends up hiring more programmers. But it could be different, not completely different, but different skill sets. Right? So demand is not going away right now. That's the trend I saw. But it's just different skill and different skill sets required.
Yeah. No, you may be correct. I'm just hearing it from the Bay Area.
Yeah. We are seeing that in some of the I've been hearing from a lot of schools up there as well.
Yeah.
We're seeing that trend, but not a lot of schools have those pathways for GPU coding right now.
Yeah.
So the industries are going that direction, but not the schools.
Correct.
And yeah, so in 4 years, we're seeing a lot more networking. We're seeing a lot more cyber ops. So that we can partner with some of these other programs and get some of those pathways in. I think that'll be very beneficial for our schools and our students. We're seeing a lot more focus on cyber.
So we'll be able to compete with Taiwan.
Yeah.
Not kidding. Just
We need to find the way to connect to those tech company.
Yeah.
Or
Video is a great one.
Yeah.
That's on Joseph's to-do list.
Okay, so talking about that, so it seems like, are you done with yours as a question? Pad?
Yep.
Okay, so your, the pathways that you mentioned, we were doing a CTE pathway survey, right? Did we do that yet?
No, we haven't yet.
No, we're going to build a survey out that will survey students and parents, and so we're going to be working on that over the summer.
So I think that will greatly contribute
Yes.
to informing facilities design as we get further into that. I mean, it's obviously the
Right.
shell of the
Mhm.
buildings, but
Yeah.
planning for that. And you'll,
What's the timeline on that? Like when it'll
We
be?
can have it ready by the time school starts, so we can get it out right after school starts.
This coming school stuff.
You're talking about the survey for CTE pathways?
Oh no, oh yeah,
Yeah, she's talking about the classroom.
class. You
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the.
I'm talking about CTE pathway.
Yes.
I think the sooner the
Survey,
better,
right?
about the survey,
Yeah.
and we can be
Yes.
informed about.
I think, yeah, I'm not sure about during the summer because people tend to be scattered and distracted and not thinking about that. But when school resumes in the fall, we can go ahead and send that survey out. We didn't want to get out in front of our student advisory council who was working on their little survey, so we want to get that done. check that off our list, and now we're gonna move forward with a larger scale survey, and we will do that when school starts. We can't implement these pathways in the upcoming year anyway. There's funding, there's staffing, there is, the building out the program, making sure we have all the consumables.
I don't think anyone's expecting.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that, we have to have a planning year. But so the first thing is the survey, getting that data to the Board of Education so we can make some decisions on what we want to explore. There's a lot of possibility for funding through CTE grants, depending on which program we go with or which programs plural we go with. And then that can be taken into consideration in terms of how we're designing the CTE wing at the high school on the west end of campus.
So, the choices that you're going to put in the survey are also very important.
Yes,
So-
we have a list of those that we worked on. And I think they may be in a board memo, but if they're not, I will send them to you. We had talked about that previously, so we do have that information. So we're done with our presentation. Does the Board of Education have any questions of any of the executive team members who presented this afternoon?
Well, I'd like to make a comment, as a board member, we cannot appreciate more. I think I'm touched for today, your presentation. I think the data statistic is very important for the board to as a reference to make some decision for the policy or help the administration to facilitate what is our need in the San Marino school district. So thank you so much. Yeah. I just take a liberty and before my board president.
And this documents
And for the last 5 years, this school district, before the COVID-19, we are almost like this, and right now we can go back to this. So that really, is a team effort. Yeah, I'm just worried about all our board members not really contribute enough to help the administration.
Well, we are a very strong governance team, and we count on the Board of Education, each one of you, for your support, your guidance, and your direction. So we are exceptionally pleased with the support that we received from all of you. And I want to say thank you also to the executive team who worked so hard on putting this presentation together. And it's just a small example of the work that they do every day on behalf of students in San Marino. We do have a really outstanding executive team. I've been with the district for a very long time, and I have to say that this is the absolute best team that we have had at this level. So thank you for supporting us. And then it's important to know where we've been and where we are in order for the Board of Education to determine where we need to go. And that leads us right into where we will pick up tomorrow on developing the 4 goals that will really be the center of the work that we do for the 26-27 school year.
Before tomorrow, we are set up the goal. What I'm heard from the community or from the parents. So I like to mention to you, and I'm just use a short term. Yeah. First of all, I think this is really, the parent concern about the student grading issues. They feel this year will room to improve. I know the student parent, they know they are kicked out because they think the grading cannot present student hard work achievement. So we are losing the competition with the school district. Secondly, I think the booster issue, I think we need to find out how we can stabilize the boost their operation because the last couple of years they always have some funding and then the booster they beside they compete each other. Well, I think this is enough.
So these are things that we can, the Board of Education can determine whether or not that would fall into one of the goals in the categories, that we talk about tomorrow. So that's something that the board will have to discuss. But that leads us into our discussion for tomorrow as well. So if there's nothing else, I turn it back over to President Gill.
Well, I would also like to echo Mr. Chang's thanks to everybody. I mean, everyone was so well prepared and thorough. Even Mr. Chang had his questions to only two. So I mean, obviously you're covering everything. I was very pleased to hear from Rochelle today and think that having almost a complete year. I mean, starting kind of late in the school year, but under your belt, I think the board was very interested to have a more thorough understanding of the role and what's been going on behind the scenes. So thank you for that. And with that, if anybody else, I think we can go. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Adjourned at 3:31. Before you guys go, you want me to do it? I never.